What's that?
Guacamole.
Really? Really?
Oh, yeah, dude.
I could see that.
Oh, yeah.
There's a place here that Hadi and I really like because they fry them up fresh when you order them in the bar. It's a little bar. It's a saloon. About 45 minutes to an hour out from the studio. Great drive though, and
Sounds like a place we should go.
they fry them up for you fresh. Right there, little pigskins. Going up on the YouTubes. Hello, YouTube. Hello, everybody
Hello.
tuning in live. Go over to irc.geekshed.net in your favorite IRC client, then join Pound Jupiter Broadcasting if you want to get in that there chat room, or pro tip, bit.ly/JupiterChat. How about that?
Jupiter Jet, yeah. I like that one. Smart thinking.
Hey, Levi!
Oh, yeah.
There is a Levi in
Oh
the
my
studio.
gosh, Wes is here, Levi.
What up, buddy?
He's a big hiker today.
Whoa, looks like
Hadi
it.
and Wes just got her. Hadi and Wes.
I wish.
Yeah, no kidding, right? Yeah, Hadi and Levi just got back from a big old hike. Big old hike. Why has he got? Hey, why has he got a scarf?
Hey, babe.
Oh, okay.
Why has he got a scar?
Why, hey, babe? What, babe? Why has he got
Can you
a
bring me
scarf?
something to drink?
I know. I heard ya. I'm just.
I would also like to point out scarves are cute, so
Yeah,
I think
cute.
there's no need.
I just thought.
the dude who wears a scarf.
That's
mean,
right.
I'm
Wes
biased,
wears a
yeah.
scarf. That's right. Hey,
But I'm
you
not
said
wearing
scar.
one
you could
today.
join us if there is there. I don't know if we have a microphone over there anymore, though. Actually.
Yeah, there's one. There's the Heil. I don't know if it's plugged in, but
Hi.
we could check.
We're getting set up over here. Yeah.
Sweaty, gross mess.
Yikes.
That's what we all are inside.
No. Get out of here. Go on. Don't get me all sweat. I don't want your hike sweat. Go on. Gross.
She imported it.
Pretend like you sweat that you hike.
You know how much I hate sweating. It's
Yeah,
gross.
see, look, I went for a hike today. I'll prove it. Smell me.
Hikes are great, but sweat, that's for Neanderthals.
And I wore my jacket the entire time. Not
Because you didn't want bugs.
I did want the buzz.
Yeah, I know you don't want to.
Sweating it out.
Well,
No bug bites.
how did Levi do? Great. Good. Good.
It's because Levi's awesome.
He is a good dog. Little road dog these days.
Road dog.
Little Levi. He runs around like he's full of energy. Like he hasn't just been on a 5-mile hike.
Yep, he's in better shape than we are. We just have to admit it.
Oh boy, he's an athlete, is what it is. He is literally an athlete.
Bouncy little athlete.
He can parkour.
Yeah,
Seriously,
right?
the dog knows parkour. Like he can parkour off of logs and couches like the best YouTubers. Seriously, and he
and he's cuter than those YouTubers.
he enjoys it. Like he knows he's an athlete. He knows he's fast and he knows he's nimble, and you can tell that he like relishes in it. It's pretty funny. And it's been really great because anytime we take him to a dog park or any kind of place with other dogs, if there's ever a dog that's a real asshole, this may change. I mean, it's always possible, but so far there hasn't been a dog that Levi can't run away from and run if they get really hostile.
Right,
like,
totally.
He's a fast little guy.
Just a little sprinter, yeah. He's got to get up and go, yeah.
Plus, he can turn it's
why you
funny.
can't catch him.
You know, like how when a biker turns, the whole bike leans and they bank as they turn. That's Levi. Levi banks as he turns, and man, if he can't outturn every dog ever, because he's not very big, right?
he's tiny.
And he can fit under tables and stuff. Like he's just and I have seen some dogs just because sometimes dog interactions don't go well, and it just.
It's nice. He has a little escape hatch. Yeah,
it's nice. It's nice not to worry about him.
Eject seat. To be clear, Levi does not have wheels, in case that was confusing.
And the dog is afraid of nothing. We were out walking the other night, and this big old dog, who ended up being on a leash, but we didn't know at the time, started just running at us full speed, right? Much bigger dog than Levi. Dog must have been 120 pounds, and Levi's like 20 pounds, so...
Only a little concerning.
Yeah, and the dog comes running at us full speed, and Levi, without missing a beat, just goes in full defender mode, like totally like was going to take this much larger dog on. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, run away.
Idiot. Yeah, right.
What are you doing? But
Dogs
yeah.
are so dumb. It's
No,
adorable.
I know. They think they just have no concept.
No, they don't.
It's crazy.
What a world to live.
But yeah, he's been riding around like.
I got a little T-shirt on Butters today.
Oh.
Yeah, it's so awesome because he has like little legs anyway. So the front little sleeves of the shirt makes his legs look like they're like an inch and a half.
That's adorable.
So he's running at you. It's awesome looking. Yeah.
Doggies.
Animals
they're great.
are amazing.
Or we just got back from Montana. We took Levi with us, obviously.
Little Levi adventure.
So we've got it's a regular thing now for us to leave him in the RV when we go do something. But a year ago that would have been really odd. So we were able to leave him in the RV home alone while we went swimming.
That's great.
In Montana. Yeah.
You did all right.
And when we go out here in Winthrop and stuff, we're leaving him at home most of the time. Sometimes we take him with us, but and he's doing really well. He still seems like he's not like when I check in on the cameras, he's not handling it great, but he's not
having a great time.
He's not generally hooting and hollering anymore. Like he used to just be howling and making a big scene. Now he just seems like he's a bit of a. He doesn't just chill out. He's like constantly
Moving
checking
around,
everywhere.
checking, sniffing, listening.
Yeah, looking through the window, standing up on
waiting
the
for your arrival back.
Yeah, he never stops waiting for us. That's the part that I hate. Like I wish he would just
Go take a big nap.
Yeah.
You might get there.
Maybe.
But that's your bro.
How long have you been leaving him alone?
I mean, we don't do it a lot, but probably once a week for a few hours, maybe.
Go out to get dinner or something. Or
That's kind of a lot, though. I mean, he's with us a lot.
Yeah, totally. He's used to you.
Yeah. And he doesn't really care what we're doing. He wants to come with. Even if he just has to hang out in the car and wait for us while we go inside somewhere, he's cool with that. Like, waiting in the car, he's totally fine with. Doesn't freak him out at all.
That's interesting. Especially since your home is like a giant car. Anyway.
I know. I know. It's so funny because he always thinks whenever I go somewhere. In fact, let me see if I can find this. I actually took video of this because whenever I go anywhere with Hadia and Levi, if I need to leave, this is going to be hard to find. If I need to leave with Levi and leave Hadia behind. Every time I do something like that, even though it's happened, here's like, here we go. This is an example of it right here. This is Hadia and I'm on dog duty. So we took the kids into Yellowstone while we were in Montana. Turns out they have a no dogs 100 yards from the vehicle or 100 feet, something like that. So Levi and I get to watch from afar. Kids are out checking out geysers. After swimming in the river, though, it's been pretty good. Oh, I see. Here comes the lady. There you go. Here she goes. Oh, that wasn't the one I was thinking
That's
of.
where the video gets good.
Yeah, here it is. Let's see. Is it? Yeah, it's that one. Is that Mom? You seeing Mom, Levi?
Aww. He's
good.
excited.
Can you hear it? We didn't leave her behind. Oh, thank goodness. Was worried about that. Was really worried about that one. He thought for sure this time I had left him behind for sure.
What a dork.
Stupid dog. Yeah, so every time that I'm forced to separate Levi from Hadia, he's convinced that I will never go back and retrieve her. It's actually the source of some of my favorite pictures of Levi. See, where was it? There was when did we go where they kicked us out with the dog? Where was that? That must have been later. After that was after the swimming, or no? That was before the swimming, right? When they kicked us out with the dog.
Oh, that was before. That was our first visitor center.
Yeah, it's this one. So it'd have to be. I think it's this one right here. Yeah. So this is the same day. The same day.
Oh, Levi isn't allowed on the trails, so you and I have to wait out. Family's down at the information center.
I don't know why it's. Can I edit it so it's not rotated like that? I didn't film it that way.
That's
so
weird.
I don't know why it's rotated that way.
Oh, Levi isn't allowed on the trails.
Poor
so
Levi.
you and I have to wait out. Family's down at the information center. Or station. It's not a center, it's a station. Take us seriously here. Levi and I have to hang out here. He doesn't understand why we've left them behind, and just thinks I'm an idiot. And is constantly reminding me we left them behind.
Now watch this part. He goes to make a run for it. Oh, I was gonna go save them.
Dad, you stop.
So yeah, that's me and Levi.
What a dork.
Remember the stink eye he gave you? when
Yeah,
you were
yeah, of course. I got a big old stink eye from him. They were super cute about letting us in too. They were really adorable about it because Dylan has a 4th grade Parks Pass.
Park newspaper, which has a very nice road map.
Okay. So as soon as we told them that, he basically stopped addressing me and started addressing Dylan directly.
A very nice colored map.
So he's looking at Dylan, not me.
Just the 3 youngsters, correct?
Yep.
Yep.
And I'm a 3rd grader.
For them, there will be wildlife identification.
Oh,
Cool.
Alrighty.
that's everything?
No, sir, not
Oh,
yet.
I'm on a credit.
Dylan, thank you for bringing your family. This is good till August 31st.
Okay.
As long as he's with you,
Okay.
you're good.
All right.
Woo!
And now you're free to go.
He's our
Thank you,
meal
sir.
ticket.
You have
Nice.
a wonderful afternoon.
Thank
you
you,
can
sir.
stay in the park.
I want to have a credit card.
Dill. Thanks for
That's
paying
so
our
cute.
way.
Dill.
He was embarrassed. It was so cute.
That's adorable.
Yeah, he was
That's
blushing.
awesome.
That was pretty good.
What a
4th
dork.
grade Park Pass.
I want to have a credit
Sounds
card.
super valuable.
Yeah, really. Yeah, and then Hadia and the kids went out in a river there. So they ended up doing a little bit of swimming in Yosemite too, because there's some places you can pull off in Yellowstone, not Yosemite, Yellowstone. Some nice warmer water that very river they are playing in and eventually swimming in is warmed by Old Faithful.
That's great.
Mm-hmm.
Looks like
Watch
they're
out
having a
some of
blast
those
too.
pools there. Some of those pools you don't want to get in.
Oh no. Yeah. Yep. So we went there because it was about 115 miles from the campsite, but we had brought Hadia's car, so we had the means. So we thought, well, let's go in, and I'm kind of glad we did. So we did the whole thing. We went and did the geyser tour this time, thinking maybe next time we'll take like another route, maybe more like the wildlife routes. But the
I
kids,
see.
Right.
you got to go with.
Geysers are cool.
You got to please the audience, right?
Yeah.
You got to go with what the audience wants, and I know I got to. I tried to read my audience, and I knew what they wanted. They wanted geysers.
Geysers.
In fact, once the geysers came up, they were all in on going.
Nice.
It wasn't until the kids were there, but the middle child Abby wasn't until I mentioned geysers, and then she was all in. So I was like, okay, we got to deliver on
Well,
the
Ted,
geysers.
but you didn't say anything about geysers.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
awesome.
Oh wait,
What did they think about it?
I think they were fairly underwhelmed by Old Faithful. I think they were. Pro tip though,
Kids don't appreciate consistency.
if you come in from like the
Right.
west entrance and you're approaching Old Faithful, there's a stop just before Old Faithful that is way less crowded because nobody wants to stop there before Old Faithful because they're all trying to get in. So it's way less crowded, and you get to walk around the pools, and they have very vibrant colors. And that's where I was parked in the car with Levi. I waited in the car with Levi, but I could see a couple of them from my parking vantage point, and they have just regular, just every few minute geysers going off. But I don't know how common this is, but while I was there was also steam twisters. Like the wind was creating twisters in the steam so you could. It was really cool looking, and it was like these big steam twisters moving around. And so that's actually cooler than Old Faithful, in my opinion. Such a cool park, though. Such a cool space. Oh, I see we got mumblers. Let's go up to the. Yo, hello, Mumble Room.
You could have like your own travel
Hello.
style show, like Rick Steves, but with you.
Oh, totally would love to do that. That would be a dream show. Hello, everybody. Hello, Brent. How are you?
Well, hello. I'm doing good. How you guys doing?
it'd be Brent
You-
and
yeah,
I.
Brent and you,
that'd be
yeah.
so
That's
good.
perfect.
Brent and Chris's travel show. Oh my God.
Dangerous. Very dangerous.
And it comes with his own photographer.
Right,
I mean,
it does.
Bring it on.
dude, Brad, that would be amazing. If we ever just fell backwards into a bunch of money and didn't need a product to actually earn money. Although, turns out like some of these guidebooks and stuff sell for a pretty
Yeah, that's
penny.
true.
And you'd think, well, why do you need a book when it's all on the internet? Tell you what,
Those books pretty handy.
still handy.
Uh-huh.
Still very handy for multiple reasons. Some of which are there's no internet, but other things too. It's like you almost need to go to some of these areas with a certain travel mind. Like if you're driving somewhere, it's a totally different set of requirements than if you're taking a Class A RV.
Yeah, that's fair.
Or if you need to work versus vacay. Like there's a lot of campsites that are just gorgeous, just fucking amazing in Yellowstone, but no cell signal, right? So that sucks. But turns out there's a couple of campsites that are maybe a few minutes to an hour drive that do have great signal. There's just all kinds of little pro tips that people could benefit from that would add the value.
If only you'd write them down.
Shit, we got to do this. We got to.
There's- I would. So I usually trip into my travel tips because I'm, traveling a bunch, and I'm like, oh, that's such a great idea. I should have known that 3 years ago.
Right. Yes. Exactly.
But for people like us, I think, who want to be connected to the internet, maybe not all the time, but fairly often. Let's just say.
What are you saying, Brent? We might actually have a real show
I'm
here.
saying we're not addicted.
You've
That's
got
what I'm trying
Brent.
to say.
Okay, hold on. So it sounds like a joke when it's Brent and I, but consider this for a moment. A podcast about working while traveling, featuring Brent, myself, and Elle. Right.
That's pretty solid.
That's all of a sudden a serious show, isn't it? Because we're all traveling all the time, and we got to do work while we're
That is
traveling.
absolutely the case.
Just saying.
Wait, are we? Is
There's probably some sort of kind of
the new
punny
show starts
name
now,
that we
right? I
could
thought
work
this was
on.
love.
We'll just do it on the pre-shows. We'll just do Tuesday
There you go.
Tuesday travel tips. It's 3 T's. It's great Tuesday travel tips. We're doing this.
Five minutes of fun.
Where are you today, Brent? I feel like we should probably get that out of the way.
That's important to know.
So where do I sound to you?
You sound pretty good.
Let me
In a van.
Give me a couple lines. Read something, and I'll do a listen.
All right, let me bring something up here. All I have is JB Live. I can tell you what I had for breakfast. So today I had 2 breakfasts, and the breakfast I had today was breakfast number 1 was leftovers that I had from a place called the Big Carrot, and the Big Carrot is like a organic market of sorts. And so they have a giant buffet, and so I got a way too big lunch yesterday of all amazing things. So I ended up eating that today, but then I got hungry again, so I made myself a waffle with
You're at home.
gluten-free waffle.
You're at home. You're at home.
Whoa, you're so well. You're not off by too many kilometers in comparison to where it was a few days ago.
So here's what
But
tipped me
I'm
off:
not
is
home.
you had an availability of resources that seems like something only somebody at home might have.
Right.
And
That's not oats
that's
in
the
a
best
jar,
part
Brent.
about. Well, I'm actually not home, but I do have a good friend of mine who's in Toronto who has similar dietary restrictions as me.
I
so
see.
I'm in their home,
Toronto.
and their freezer is stocked with things I can totally love.
So you're leveraging their life challenges to make your life easier.
We're grouping together.
Nice.
You know?
That's right.
Strength
Yeah.
by numbers.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not sure if you're aware of a leech as an organism.
No, it's brilliant. It's actually a really good idea. We should all team up. All of us with our different peculiars should team up and make the world easier for us. Well,
that's kind of what the travel podcast would do, right? Is like throw all our great ideas together.
Telling you
to
what.
make an ultimate travel experience.
podcast with like a photo blog or something. I mean, I got these video clips. I'm not doing nothing with them. They're just sitting in
That's true.
They're just sitting on my phone.
Let's use them. I take photos that end up only on hard drives, so
That's right.
I would prefer to have them elsewhere.
Looks like
I
our
think you're
guest
onto
has
something
joined.
Oh, really? Thomas is here. Hey,
Mr.
Thomas.
Cameron.
Hey, how's it going? You guys hear me okay?
Yeah, we're good.
Hey,
You
sound
sound great. Where are you at right now? What's your location and time zone?
I am actually in Austin, Texas at the AWS offices here, and my time zone is Central.
Oh, okay.
Nice.
All right. Well, we work with the Central folks quite a bit, so we can do that math fairly
Indeed.
easily. Yeah. Well, welcome to the show. So it sounds like Cheese, aka Adam, already went through some of the basics with you.
Yes.
Cool. Do you have Audacity set up by chance?
I am unfortunately on my work-issued laptop, which is a MacBook.
Understand.
Hey, Audacity will still work on Mac OS. It turns out, but you can use anything that'll record your USB or whatever you're using your audio input. Anything that gets a WAV file from that
Okay.
works for us.
Okay. Let me figure out what to do. Hold on.
No worries. For commercial software, there's a couple of different apps, but Audacity is available if you want to go free. QuickTime actually can do it too. I just would be able to walk you through it, but I know it is capable of doing it.
Right. Hang on just a second.
Man, we did a lot of driving this last week. Oof. Tell you
Well,
what.
sounds like the kids
sounds
had
like
a great time though, man.
Yeah, it was. It was perfect weather. Perfect.
That's great.
You took the Volvo? Did you take the Volvo?
No, we took the kids in the RV, and then Dia brought her car separately, and spent.
Nice.
And just I love Hot Springs. It's just the best. And they got different temperatures, so you can
mean,
have cooler or
Who
warmer.
hates a hot spring?
Monsters.
This almost sounds like the conversation you had last week. The hot springs. You're just kicking, jumping from one hot spring to the next. Is that how it goes?
Is there any other way to live?
That seems to be Hadia's motivation as much as possible is to jump from hot spring to hot spring.
Nice.
Is there a hot spring stopover?
Yes. That is not beyond us to check from time to time.
I feel like every airport needs one of those.
Yeah. That's a good idea.
I've also done a lot of driving over the last week and didn't even get a vacation out of it.
Yikes.
Walking across the floor.
Badger.
Hello. How are you?
Where are you? Somewhere else? Are you on a different microphone? You sound
different.
You sound roomier than normal.
Oh dear. No.
Try tapping your mic. See if it's the right one.
Yeah.
But do push to talk, obviously.
Yeah, I think it's the right one.
I don't hear any tapping on Mumble.
Yeah, I don't either.
I know.
No tapping was heard.
No taps.
The case of the missing.
I do
tabs.
hear his space bar or something.
The case of the missing taps.
No, are we not turning things into Sherlock Holmes
No, I
mysteries?
think we could. Yeah, the case of the line
If
buzz.
not, I was misinformed.
The case.
How's that?
Oh, much
better.
better. Yeah.
I must have been defaulted to my webcam mic.
Back, baby.
I hear like an echo, like a digital echo of sorts.
Yeah, I hear that too.
Could
On
be just
you?
me, or-
No, is that
I can
better?
hear Brent.
I had a channel open. Is that better?
Brent sounded like the Mysterons for a second.
What about now?
I guess I should talk to test. So here I am talking.
Yeah, he's good. He's good.
Good.
Sounds fine.
Beautiful Brent.
Yeah, he's good to me
Sound
too.
great, Brent.
Well, thanks, guys.
Tell you what. I tell you what, guys. I think we have ourselves a pretty special episode today. We have joining us. I'll say this again on the show, but joining our cast of characters this week is Thomas Cameron, who, if you recall, we talked about when we did our Texas Linux Fest episode. And
304.
Oh, look at you! Wow. And man, that keynote, I liked it so much. I listened to it again. So did Wes. We both listened to it again on our way into the studio today. Just cause
That keynote was phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you very much. That's very kind of you.
Super glad this worked out and then you could join us. So the way the kind of the flow of the show goes. I know I'm full of rhymes today, and I'm just celebrating.
Brought him back from the hot springs.
Is inspired in Montana. We'll do just a couple of news stories, which you are, and I probably will reiterate a lot of this in the show, but you are totally welcome to jump in as part of the conversation. And then once we get through the news, we'll just start our chat with you about stuff, and we'll just go as long as it goes, and there's really no time limit or length expectation. So. Yeah. So
Sounds good.
That'll just be after the news. Oh, I like that.
Excellent.
4-hour lup coming up.
I wish. I've thought about it recently. I think it would give Joe a heart attack, but I've thought about it. Recently, it's felt like the show, I can't fit everything I want in a particular episode. That happens sometimes. That just makes it it's just our job to trim it down and
find the very best.
Find the very best, exactly. And maybe it just means sometimes when that
double up week.
Sometimes when that starts to happen, what it really means is that it's time for another show.
Whoa.
Mm-hmm.
What?
That's what it can mean sometimes. So there's
I feel
that.
like we need some sort of mystery sound effect.
You're right.
Underline
The
this
case
right now.
of another show.
Uh-huh,
We do
The case of the missing taps.
We need a go-to mystery.
Some Agatha Christie
exactly.
thing.
That's good. All right. Well, I'm gonna go grab a beverage. Do you want? Do you want to join?
Yeah, I'm
me?
gonna join. Yeah.
All right. So here's what I'm gonna do. Unless you, Cheese or Alex, have a topic of discussion that you'd like to chat with, I have a clip I could play.
Well, go ahead, play the clip. That'll give Thomas some time to figure out, and if he has any questions.
No, I'm actually good. I've got Audacity up and running on my MacBook now.
Nice.
Oh, sweet.
Nice.
Awesome.
You know, the beauty of open source right there, right? Tell you what. All right. Well, I'll be right back. I'm going to play a little bit. I'm going to jump into... Here we go. This is Thomas right here. at Texas Linux Fest.
Gosh.
I know. I'm sorry to do this to you, but
Thank you guys very much. I appreciate it. It is truly an honor to be here. I've been involved with Texas Linux Fest for years, and it's fantastic to be here up on the main stage. And I appreciate you all being here. Definitely, welcome. And thank you so much for being here on a Saturday morning. I know that if you're like me, you'd rather probably be, carefully inspecting the backs of your eyelids right now. But I do appreciate you being here. Just out of curiosity, how many folks are here from outside of the DFW area? Wow. That is phenomenal. Thank you even more then for traveling to be here. That's amazing. So, who am I? And why should you care? Should you care? I don't know. We'll see. A little bit about me. As mentioned earlier, my name is Thomas Cameron. I started in the IT industry in 1993. Raise your hand if you were not born yet in 1993. Okay. To me, very honestly, I still sort of feel like Linux is this new upstart cool technology. But the reality is it's been around for a very, very long time. I have an interesting path, or I had an interesting path to get here. I actually started out as a police officer. I was a volunteer and then a non-sworn corrections officer and then a sworn police officer. Spent about 8 years in law enforcement. Realized that I qualified for food stamps and changed careers into IT. So back in the day, I started out as a Novell certified netware engineer. All right, I'm dating myself, yeah. And I have fond memories of upgrading a 2.5 megabit per second ArcNet network to a blazing fast 4 megabit per second token ring environment.
All right, I'm sorry to do that to you, but a little context I thought was good. I just yeah. Oh, I think am I getting a slight bit of echo back, Thomas? Are you wearing headphones over there?
I am wearing headphones. I'm not hearing any echo.
Okay. Hopefully. Are you hearing Wes, say something? Maybe it's just
check 1, 2, 3.
I don't hear it. Yeah,
okay.
I don't hear it. Oh, would you mind killing that fan?
Yeah.
Just hold it down. All right. Well then, ladies and gentlemen, your captain has put on the seatbelt sign, and we are preparing for takeoff here on this here podcast. Thank you. What was that? What was that? Jeez. Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Huh. Let's make Drew fix that when he comes out. Just make Drew do it. All right, chat room. I am officially starting up the title suggestions. Oh, we got a couple of minutes, so let me tweet out, too, that we're about to start, so that way we get a few people joining us.
On the ball.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I got to say, I'm not loving new Twitter, because I went all morning without realizing I had unread notifications.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That happened to you too, Thomas?
Yeah, I'm not loving it either. But the one thing that's constant is change, and so we'll get used to it, and then they'll fix it again in a couple of years, and we'll all gripe about it, and then get used to it. So I'm
not even typically the kind of gripe about the big update kind of guy. Like I agree with you. It's like it's just sort of inevitable, and when you have software as a service that is server side and they can update it on their own, the new update rolls out and it's just what it is. And that's the new reality we live in. But at the same time, it's sort of like I haven't been a big fan of this one, and the other one I haven't been a huge fan of, but it's growing on me a little bit, is New Reddit. It's getting better.
Yeah. But I'd like to see some real data.
No,
it's hard
it's not.
to say, like which ones have worked, because we mostly notice the ones that get
New
much
Reddit
worse.
sucks.
Well,
Donkey balls.
I'll tell you what I've done is in both cases I've just, and I don't know if this is better to be honest with you, is I've moved to using the mobile app more.
Mm-hmm.
And I use the web less, but that doesn't feel great either.
Old.reddit.com.
Yeah, I know, but that's only going to be around for so long.
And Reddit Enhancement Suite doesn't work on New Reddit. And there's one simple feature that I really can't live without, and that's the show images button. So when I'm browsing like Unix porn or something like that, I just want to see all the screenshots.
Right.
Simple things that UI designers miss that just in remakes and things that just drive me crazy.
I suspect, I don't know, but this is based just on, just a little bit of my own, contracting background. But I suspect that it kind of comes from how can we how can we drive more engagement and retention and less from a perspective of how users actually interact with it. And it's sort of a transition when you have the creators that design the product that want to use it for themselves, so they're scratching their own itch, and it transitions to a team of people, and then a larger team as that team transitions into a bigger team, and all of a sudden it sort of becomes a platform, and it becomes something where you need to drive retention. And you need to drive engagement, and you want to make sure you push forward these important initiatives that these different departments are working on, like the list department, or the bookmarks department, or the trends department.
I mean, they got metrics to hit, man.
Yeah, they have their key results that they need to hit, and all those kinds of things. And I feel like there is just a natural shift to that model of thinking, and it leads to these kinds of changes. And sometimes they're for the better. I mean, legitimately, sometimes they are improvements. It does seem like it loads faster, but that's just totally arbitrary. I could see me eventually getting used to this. Once I retrain my monkey brain to look on the left-hand side, sort of iTunes. This is very iTunes, 3-column iTunes style. Once I get used to that, I think it'll be fine.
Yep.
Another app that's redesigned in the last week or two that's driving me mad is Spotify.
Oh, don't get me started.
And Slack Desktop has had a kind of a big change too. And the UI is a little different. Like one of the things that I took advantage in old Slack is I themed each Slack I was in to have a very different color scheme.
Yes.
So visually it was clear to me which Slack I'm in. And that's been much reduced with the new design. It does seem faster though. So that's sort of a
right. It's like it's nice that they're putting work in, making it better.
Yeah.
But you have to change along with it.
But that's one of those, like, I'm like, okay, I'm willing to roll with those particular punches because that's something that does need to get improved. And, maybe they just had to take out some fanciness and some styling to make it happen because that stuff does slow things down. It kind of makes sense.
Well, I think, too, that people begin to interact with this software and these services differently over time. And so it's an evolutionary thing that you make it more convenient or you make it more accessible. But in some cases, you also break things that people really, really, really love.
Far too many cases that is what actually happens.
But that hasn't necessarily been... That's not necessarily new to software as a service. I think a classic example would be Office, when they rolled out, like, the ribbon.
The ribbon?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But you didn't have to buy the new version. You didn't have to upgrade for a long time, where that is what's changed now with software as a service, and we've never really had that conversation as well. I don't think average consumers have ever even had that consideration, not even a conversation, that consideration of a trade-off when they switch to, say, Office 365 or Quicken Online or whatever is sort of a more traditional application. That's an implicit deal you're making with the service provider, is that at some point they're going to update the UI and you are just going to receive that, and there's nothing you can do about it. It's a big change.
It is.
There is one thing you can do, but that's not for now.
Musical cue.
Yeah, right. Well, we should probably get recording because we could have used all of that for the show. But we'll just consider that warm up.
What is the deal?
Yeah.
What is the deal?
See, if that's our warm up, how good must the show be? All right. So all of you, what's the matter? Oh, good. Yes. Thank you for looking. Thank you for checking. Wes is now checking the disk space before every show because we've had.
I mostly was anyway. Turns out the one time
I went in and I set the Reaper setting, I think, to like 10 gigs or something. So if it's less than 10 gigs,
we were missing like a setting I really thought we had on
a basic setting.
I turned on ambient noise filtering. Do you still hear me okay?
Yeah. Although we can do that too. Like one of the things we'll do is we'll do a room sample here in a moment and capture your room, and then we use software to filter that out post processing.
Okay.
But if you're happy with the results, if you think it sounds particularly better,
I don't know. That's why I was asking, because I'm not sure how it sounds. If you still hear me okay, then I may as well leave it on just so that it makes your life a little less difficult later on.
It doesn't sound worse, I don't think. I don't know if it's
I'd say it sounds a little tinnier to me.
Oh, really? Hang on a second. Let me,
let's do it
sounds a little compressed. Okay.
Hang on just a second. Okay. So now I have disabled ambient noise reduction. Do you hear any difference?
There's definitely more room tone, but there is more range of your voice. I think let's leave it like this, and Joe can.
it's not too bad for the live, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
Yeah,
You're perfectly.
That's true. We
understandable.
are applying some effects on our end for the live stream too, and stuff like that. So,
Got it.
All right. Well, then, is everybody on Source Connect ready to record? Then.
What?
Let me get my.
That sounded like a wimpy.
Wimpy.
Hello.
Hello. It is so good to see you.
Can I just get an audio check? Does this sound good or does this sound crap?
No, you sound really good.
Sounds good.
Sounds very good.
Okay, then we'll go with that. For some reason, I'm hearing real static on the audio coming from the Mumble server, but I don't know if it's me or the server.
It must be you overheating.
I tell you what, I could paint you a very vivid picture about how much I'm overheating right now.
Let's do it. Come on.
We'll just toss it in the air soon. It'll be great.
No.
My sister only lives about 5 miles from you, Popey, and Wimpy, sorry. And she's been texting me all day about how hot it is. And I'm like, darling, it was 41 Celsius here at the weekend. You don't.
Yeah, negated by the fact you have air conditioning, and as you full well know, we do not here. So hottest day on record in the UK today.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Oh, well, congratulations.
Yeah.
That's what I've heard.
Well done.
So to combat the effects of the overwhelming heat, I am sat here in my pants, and that is British English pants, not American English pants, with a towel that I have dipped in a cold bath of water wrapped around my shoulders. That's the best I can do.
How am I
for
going to go
air
on with that visual? That
I know. That middle image there.
I love it.
Oh God, I wish I was recording.
You threatened to paint a vivid picture, and boy, did you deliver.
We were 3 seconds from hitting record.
Nice. Well done, Wimpy.
There you go. Well, all right. Now with that beautiful moment live, let's hit record. So Source Connect.
Show up live, folks.
Yeah, that's why you come live. Source Connect, folks. I will do a 1, 2, 3 record, and then we all hit on when I say record. So starting now, 1, 2, 3 record. Hello there, future Joe. Good to see you. And now let's all jump in at 4. So I will count up to 4, and then y'all on Source Connect and Mumble too, you can jump in and count 4. So I'll do 1, 2, and 3, and then you jump in at 4. That includes you, Thomas, too. We'll use that to sync up our audio. 1, 2, 3, 4.
4.
Nice. That's good.
Good job,
That's
team.
good. It's nice. I feel like we could do something more awesome. Like we should have like a chant or something that we do instead of just count. But that's what we got now. All right. So this next part is where we capture the room tone. So everybody just sort of have a moment of silence. Don't move. Don't breathe. Don't burp. Don't fart. Don't cough.
Let the room come through.
This is all about letting the room come through in 3, 2.
Get it out of here.
All right. That was one of our tops. That was one of our tops right there. That was really good.
Really just we're listening to the gates for a while.
Yeah. All right. Well, with that bit of business done, I think we are cleared for takeoff.
Business.
Yeah. So we do have one item for pre-show that Mr. Bacon came up with real quick here. Let me get us ready here in 3. What is... Is that an airplane going?
Yes, I think we're being bombed.
Yeah, I think we are being bombed. I don't think it's showing up on mic very
Blast
much.
shields up, everyone.
Okay, in 3, 2, 1. Listen closely. There's an embedded message in this music. All right, there's the source. Now listen carefully for the message. Did you hear it, Wes?
I think I heard something.
Yeah, a little. There is a little bit of a difference there. There is data hiding in the 9.8 kilohertz to 10 kilohertz audio spectrum in that sample that we just played.
Wow. Considering it sounds pretty decent, I think.
Yeah, well, one of the tricks they're doing is they're analyzing the music, and then they're encoding data into the audible range of the music. So picture a moment, like transferring information via sound, As we all know, modems used to do that. Well, what if you could have smartphones that are always listening to the background music that's playing, like your Pixel 3 does?
Oh, yes, it does. And it's only a little bit creepy.
Now, what if you could transmit information in that music, like the coffee shop Wi-Fi password?
Ah, so you just step into the coffee shop. The music's been altered just a little bit to encode the password, say, and then your phone picks it up, registers, finds the network, hops on in your own line.
Wes, this isn't just a theory. Why, it's a white paper, too.
Yeah, I thought this was really interesting, man. Obviously, there's so many other implications when you're just spewing this stuff out in the air and what your phone can pick up. But I thought it was a pretty interesting way of, encoding these sorts of things that we all use on a daily basis.
Yeah, and they pointed out
in our surrounding audio. Yeah,
and they pointed out like why use audio frequencies, right? Why not use a frequency that we can't hear? And basically, there's just a lot of speakers for the human audio range already. So you have speakers in the ceiling that are designed to pipe out music in that range at the mall.
Yeah, you're not going to get fantastic data rates here. Real world data transfer would be around 200 bits a second. So that's, I think, if I'm doing my math right, about 25 words per second. So a good Wi-Fi password, but that's about it.
Yeah, something like an audio QR code.
Yeah, an audio QR code is exactly what it would be. What could go wrong, Wes? Hello and welcome to Linux Unplugged episode 311. My name is Chris.
My name is Wes.
Hello, Wes. We have a great episode today. So not only are we going to get to some important community news, I've had to think recently about the community news. So this is a slightly retuned community news, this edition, but Thomas Cameron is joining us on this week's episode, and if that name rings a bell, that's because back in episode 304, we talked about Texas Linux Fest and a keynote that really made us think. Everyone on the team was impressed by this keynote, and that was the one that was given by Thomas Cameron, and he joins us this week on the show. Hey there, Thomas.
Hey, thank you so much for having me, and thank you for the kind words. I appreciate it.
No, really, thank you for joining us. This is something that we've been wanting to do. Both Wes and I didn't talk about it ahead of time, but on the way into the studio today, listened to your keynote again because we have a recording of it.
That's right.
Because we just enjoyed it so much. So thank you for making it. And as we go through the community news here and stuff, please feel free to chime in. And then after we get through this community news, let's just chat about some of the topics you raised in your keynote. We'll just kind of expand on them a little bit and things like that. So thanks for being here.
Sounds good.
All right. Well, before we get to that community news, I have to say time-appropriate greetings to that mumble room. Hello, Virtual Lug.
Good evening.
Hello.
Hello.
That's a packed mumble room.
And of course, Mr. Cheese Bacon's here. Hello, Cheese.
Hey, how's it going, man?
Hey, Cheesy. Good. I'm really good. Just got back from Montana. Decided to do something that I think I'm gonna do more often when I do a family trip, because I took the family to Montana. And then I thought, when I get back, the week I get back, instead of just jumping right back into work, what if I kind of like ease in a little bit?
Interesting.
The ease in, I slide in a little bit. So
phase in, you might say.
I booked a campsite on a river in eastern Washington.
I don't know if that's phasing in. I think that's just more vacation.
Well, I'm in studio, aren't I?
Yes, you are.
I did the 3-hour commute in today just because Thomas is here. Seriously, if Thomas wasn't here, I would have been like, I'll do it remote. Screw it.
Is that a river behind you, Chris?
Yeah, that is the river. That would have been Joe's. Like, Joe would have contacted me. He's like, Chris, this river noise, I can't filter it out. That's my Joe impression. It's very bad. Anyways, moving on. Let's talk about these Dropbox updates that people have been tweeting me saying, well, now Chris is going to switch back to Dropbox now that this news is out. Wrong. But it is good to see, nonetheless. Dropbox is adding back-end support for ZFS, eCryptFS, and XFS and ButterFS on Linux. Look at that. Didn't expect that to happen.
Is it like a little awkward? Have they said anything? Or is it just sort of people are noticing that the support's back?
That. Yeah.
It feels weird, right?
Yeah.
Are there changes in the justifications they gave for dropping it?
No, it's just changes in the release notes for a beta version. Yeah.
Okay.
This is so late, really, if you think about it.
Exactly, right, Brent? It's like it's too late. Like it was the last straw, wasn't it?
It was by far the last straw. I mean, how many people just kind of said, all right, I'm out of here. See ya. You gave me a good reason to like work a little harder at finding a better solution. So I think they lost a lot of people.
Well, and I'll tell you, one of the things about desktop Linux is sometimes we get the features last. And that can actually be, in some cases, a good thing, especially if you want a reliable workstation that is predictable. And on Windows and Mac OS, and you've got to imagine eventually this would land on Linux, but on Windows and Mac OS, things have gotten really bad in Dropbox Town. So Dropbox now uses over a half a gig of memory on Mac OS. And when you look in its frameworks folder in the application bundle, there's an entire Chromium web rendering engine in there. And they've implemented an Electron-based file manager in Dropbox on Mac OS. Can you believe that?
I mean, I knew it was coming. I mean, it just had to be. I didn't think Dropbox would be the one to do it.
I mean, Dropbox went from super lightweight cross-platform sync tool to the most bloated sync tool possible.
Well, it's a whole service, Chris. It's not just about syncing anymore.
I mean, one of the things that I was resistant about Nextcloud was it just felt like it was too much stuff besides file syncing.
Right. You just wanted some files and to have them everywhere.
I had a change of heart and I realized there was other things I could take advantage of, and then Nextcloud was a slam dunk. But now looking at this, I'm thinking, man, the trade-off's actually still there. Like it's Dropbox is it's too much with the price. If you want real storage, if you want more than 3 devices, a half a gig of memory just for their stupid Electron file manager, and then the fact that Linux feels like a second or maybe even third class platform. Thomas, as our special guest here on the Unplugged program, I'm curious what your sync solution is. Do you have anything that syncs to the cloud?
I do. My wife and I both have backup routines. She's on a Windows laptop. I obviously am on a Linux system. I use. I hate to say it, man. I'm sort of old fashioned. I have an rsync script that runs on my laptop that checks to see if it's docked at home. If it's docked at home, it syncs over to my file server. If that, once it's done that, then that file server syncs to some cloud instances that I have. And my wife uses a commercial cloud storage solution. I don't even remember what it is. But so, yeah, we do use cloud storage, definitely. But in both cases, it's not very sophisticated.
There's something nice about using rsync to move your data around because it's easier to observe, it's easier to understand, so you feel a little safer about your own data because it's a tool you can wrap your head around.
Exactly. And when you're writing it, you're writing your script and you're saying, I want this data to go over to this internal server versus, this data, which absolutely has to go to the cloud immediately because it's, very important and we don't want to lose it. It's like, I know exactly what the software is doing because I wrote it. And so,
yeah. And you only have yourself to blame, which I'm used to doing.
Well, there is that.
So that's
there
not
is
so bad.
that.
I actually like that. That's fine by me. I'm totally okay in that scenario. Are you using any kind of secret sauce for your laptop and rsync to figure out when you're on the home LAN versus when you're like on a hotel Wi-Fi or something?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's just I do a couple of different things. I look to see if I'm in the right address range, and I use kind of an oddball address range for my home lab. And then I also check to see if the /etsy/resolve.conf is set up to do to search on my home office
DNS.
domain.
Right.
Yeah, and so if it is, and if my host name is correct, so I do a number of tests. But yeah, if I'm on the right network and the host name that's been assigned is a host name that I recognize because I've got static DHCP reservations, and my resolve.conf says that I'm in the right search domain, then it fires off the rsync script.
That's a solid way to do it. That is a really solid way to do it.
Well, and because I'm an idiot, it's great that it's hands-free.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just let it go.
Yeah. They
That's
check
right.
those conditions. If those conditions exist, then it runs.
Yep.
Yeah, that's nice. That's how you want your backups to be, really. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that setup. It's similar to how I back up my photos now. So it's not quite. I don't have the network detection stuff because mine's just always here on the LAN. But I like that. So Thomas, I know you're a long-time Red Hatter. If I recall from the keynote, you were certified in 1999. So you've been around for a while.
That's correct. Yeah. My first installation of Linux was back in, 95, I think. It was the first version of Slackware that supported the A.out format.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah. So, I mean, it's been a while. And then when I went to, actually, before I went to work at Red Hat, I was a Red Hat certified engineer on Red Hat Linux 6.1. And then while I worked at Red Hat, I was a Red Hat Certified Architect Level 5, which means that I didn't just pass the tests to become an RHCA, but then I took 5 additional technical tests after that and passed all of those. So big old geek.
And as we talk today, if memory serves, you are an Amazon Linux Solutions Architect, correct?
Correct. Yes, I just left Red Hat after almost 14 years, about 4 months ago, and started with AWS, with Amazon Web Services. And I get to play with Amazon Linux all day, every day, and it's a lot of fun. It's a whole lot of fun.
Interesting.
I'd like to talk more about that in a moment, because that's something, I got to be honest with you, we don't cover much on this show. And Wes and I feel a little embarrassed about that, because it's out there. A lot of people are using it, and it's getting about zero coverage.
We never
here.
bring it up.
Let's get to there in a moment. But I kind of want to take a little bit of a historical perspective on this next story with you.
Sure.
So this week, it was approved by the Fedora Technical Committee to discontinue shipping 32-bit ISOs, and they're also debating an additional, even further step.
Oh, yeah. So they also started talking about when should they end 32-bit software repositories in general for Fedora.
Mm-hmm.
So they will consider a late change proposal for Fedora 31, and as a result, there is now the No i686 repositories proposal that was drafted, where they would stop producing and distributing modular and everything i686 repositories.
And this 32-bit transition has just been one of the continuing meta stories of 2019. And I'm just really fascinated on your entire take on this the bigger picture here, the bigger story.
So, the systems that run 32-bit architecture are becoming so few and so far between, and frankly so specialized, right? Usually we're talking about industrial machines or special purpose machines, and Fedora is at its heart meant to be a general purpose distribution. And so I kind of understand the logic behind saying, look, you pretty much can't buy a 32-bit machine anymore, so we're not going to burn the effort and the engineering effort and all of the build systems and all of the storage and all of the the overhead that comes with keeping 32-bit distributions alive for something that is really a niche sort of specialized platform. So I kind of agree with them, honestly.
Same with me. I feel like you need a couple of distributions to start pushing this forward. And Fedora is a great distribution for that kind of tech, pushing a new tech forward. Okay, so you and I are both long-timers. You've got more time on this than I do, and I'm curious to get your perspective on why, when Canonical announced something somewhat similar, although in a different style, there was a pretty big outrage. In fact, a weekend of outrage that just where people were popping off for a weekend. 60 different articles were written. When this gets announced by Fedora, there's like 3 articles, and 2 of them were by Phoronix. What's with the tonal difference, do you think?
Well, I think that you hit the nail on the head when you said they announced it differently. With the Fedora project, it is a project, and it is a represented project. And by that, I mean there are folks from the community who are represented. There are, over communication with a lot of the development mailing lists. And so I think that the idea of doing away with 32-bit builds was socialized for a long time before the announcement was sort of broadly broadcast, if that makes sense. And I think that the way that it was communicated, and I think that the rationale behind it, kind of what we talked about just a minute ago, I think that most folks out in Fedora land were like, yeah, that makes sense. I mean, Fedora is a forward-looking distro. It's for, bleeding edge cool technologies. It's for as close to upstream as possible. And a lot of the stuff that's upstream just doesn't lend itself to 32-bit. So I think it was all in the way that it was communicated personally.
A flip side question to that then would be, do you think that inherently makes Fedora less of a corporate desktop platform, where Ubuntu LTS seems like you had companies like Valve and game developers that were almost they were dependent on it as a desktop platform, where they don't seem to depend on Fedora as a desktop platform as much?
Well, look at having been in corporate IT. You and I both have been in those environments where, if somebody came to me and said, "Hey, we're just gonna upgrade every desktop in the place that does precision computing or CAD CAM or whatever every 6 months, because the underlying distro revs every 6 months," I would be like, I'm either gonna stab you or I'm gonna open my veins.
Go mental.
Yeah. So Fedora is designed for sort of bleeding edge developers. It's a phenomenal desktop. I used Fedora on my desktop at home and love it. Whereas LTS is absolutely designed to be a solid, less flashy, sexy, forward-looking desktop that's going to last for a long time. And I totally get, why folks would use LTS or Ubuntu LTS as opposed to Fedora.
Yeah, and that could be more appealing to developers from a targeting standpoint, because sometimes projects can have a multi-year lifespan. Wimpy, I want to give you a chance to jump in here, just because I know that this is a topic that's close to your heart. You see the reaction differences, the tone differences between Fedora's announcement and Ubuntu/Canonical's announcement. What are your thoughts on that?
I haven't actually seen the announcement from Fedora, so I can't comment on the differences as to how it was communicated.
If I could, I should take this moment to make clear that the dropping the i680, the 32-bit repositories and all of that is likely not to happen. It's a proposal. It's a proposal that is seeing significant pushback, but the dropping of 32-bit ISOs and things like that is very likely to happen.
Right. Okay.
All of which has been pretty much, I think, well received overall.
Well, I am not at all surprised to hear people not caring about the removal of the ISO images for 32-bit Intel platforms. I think for those people that need that kind of support, there are plenty of niche distros that cater to that use case, and it doesn't need the likes of, Ubuntu and Fedora to cater to those individuals. There are plenty of other places you can go, because we're kind of getting into enthusiast territory now, right? These systems are getting old enough, it won't be so long before they'll be retro, and there'll be a slew of YouTube channels about, preserving their 32-bit Intel systems. So let's leave that to the enthusiasts and, the retro computer lovers, and let's leave the mainstream distributions to look to the horizon and, march forward.
Well said. Well said. How are things over in Ubuntu Mate land these days?
Ubuntu Mate land? Yes, very good. I've spent some time recently creating bespoke images for some more ultra-mobile PC devices.
I heard a little bit about that on their Ubuntu podcast recently.
Yeah, so GPD sent me an engineering sample of their GPD micro PC that has been going through a crowdfunder, and those devices are currently being shipped to their backers at the moment. And thanks to the collaboration from Hans de Gode at Red Hat, kernel support for those devices is in the 5.2 kernel. The 5.2 kernel landed in the 1910 development branch of Ubuntu, so I put together an alpha release for that, so that people that have got those devices and want some Linux rather than some Windows have got somewhere to go.
That's great.
And as we progress through the rest of the 1910 cycle, I'll produce a beta image and then a final image for that device.
That is, you know what? There's something in 5.2, 5.3, and 5.4 I am excited about.
No kidding.
It's getting really good. So let's take a moment and have Alex bring us down a little bit from the 5.2 hype, because there is a bug that is impacting those of us that are enjoying the KVM lifestyle these days.
Yeah, was it 308 or 309? I forget, where we did a VFIO special episode. I ran into a bug this weekend where on kernel 5.2.1 there is a K-mode exception not handled bug, and this manifests itself in your probably Windows guest as random blue screens of death, or 3D apps might randomly crash, so you might be browsing a website using Chrome and it'll just keep crashing time after time after time. Now, this weekend I'd installed a new SSD, so I thought it was that for the longest time. So wasted the best part of my Saturday trying to fix this.
Wait, so you hit this bug at the same time you did a hardware upgrade?
Yeah, well, when I rebooted my machine, it rebooted into kernel 5.2, and I hadn't noticed that had also changed. So yeah, perfect storm. But it's a really simple.
That is a nice rite of passage, though. That has definitely hit all of us. That's nice.
Yeah, idiot tax. It's a really simple fix. Just downgrade your kernel to something that is older than 5. So for the moment, I've gone back in the AUR. I've gone back to Linux VFIO LTS, which is just an AUR package, which takes me back to 4.19. I don't necessarily think I need anything in 5.x for a while, so we'll find out soon enough. But
is this going to impact me on Fedora? I'm on 30 right now, but I think I'm on kernel 5.1.
Yeah, it could do.
Uh-oh.
Crap. Huh.
Yeah, there's another bug in kernel 5.2 that you might bump into as well, and there's a regression in the way file systems are mounted that can cause some file systems to get deadlocked when they mount.
Oh, so that sounds like tons of fun.
No, lovely. Actually, not tons of fun.
Dang it.
Yeah.
All right, so everybody hold out for kernel 5.4.
Yeah. Now, on an up note, while I've been playing around with these ultra mobile PCs, I backed a crowdfunder for what's called a Topjoy Falcon.
Really? Tell me about
this. Well, that's an 8-inch netbook style. You know, they're these days they're called UMPCs, but you know we know them as netbooks from like a decade ago.
Sure.
And this one's a little bit bigger than the other ones I've got, so the keyboard is decent, and it's in a aluminium unibody design, and it has an optical touch point and a touch screen. And because of the work I've done on other devices like this, when I had a look at the hardware enumeration, I was like, aha, this is the track point that I've dealt with in the GPD Pocket 2. And this is the touch screen and the display device I've dealt with in the GPD Pocket 1. So by looking at the other devices I've worked on before, I was able to enable that device with a bespoke image in a couple of hours. So images for Ubuntu Mate 18.04 and 19.04 are on the website, and backers of that crowdfunder are just receiving their devices at the moment. So at the point at which new devices are available, there is also a Linux operating system all pre-configured ready for you to install.
Well done, sir. Well done. Very nice.
Yeah. And that relationship with GPD is developing now, and I've got 2 other devices in the post on their way to me at the moment. So engineering samples of upcoming devices that I'm looking forward to be working on.
There seems to be clear interest in Ubuntu Mate on these devices, huh?
Well, GPD have kind of, because I put the effort in, we've kind of become the de facto Linux that they speak to me. We're in email contact, and I'm connected with their engineers, so I know what's going on with their device engineering. But that was because I put the effort in, and some of the other community projects, because my work is just derived from the work of others. Who did community images for the original GPD Pocket, and that was really the device that kicked this whole movement off again. So I'm not really creating anything new, but I am actually sustaining the effort, because some of those other projects have fallen by the wayside.
Right.
So it's nice for me, because all I want in return for a bit of effort is an engineering sample of the device. So I've now got like 5 or 6 of these things in the house, and they're all quite good fun to play with.
And that is an important part of the open source ecosystem too, is making sure some of that stuff continues on. Well, that's great. So, Wimpy, you joined us a bit in progress. Thomas, this is Martin Wimpress. He's an employee at Canonical, and he's the lead for Ubuntu Mate. Wimpy, Thomas works at Amazon in their Linux area, amongst a long history of things, but he's currently in the Amazon Linux team. So,
yes, and you, and I very much enjoyed your talk at Texas Linux Fest.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
So it's great. It's great. I just feel like it's been forever. So Wimpy, it's great to have you here. Everybody go listen to the Ubuntu podcast. Like if you've been listening to the show and you're like, I miss Wimpy and Popey. Well, actually, Popey hasn't been on the Ubuntu podcast for a couple of weeks, but Laura's been back. So go check it out. It's a good show. Okay, just a couple of other community news items before we wrap up. Alex, you have some good news, and it's regarding one of your projects that we don't talk about too often, but we probably should, which is Linux Server IO. I love it. I use many of your containers here at Jupiter Broadcasting.
We all do.
And the Linux Server IO group has joined Open Collective, which, Alex, if my understanding is correct, and correct me if I'm wrong, it's like Patreon, but for infrastructure projects that's a little more open.
Yeah, that's right. We've been searching for a long time for a sane way to deal with donations, given that we have team members located across the globe. We looked at registering as a charity in England and as a charitable organization here in Australia and all sorts of places. And to be honest, we were getting bogged down in red tape everywhere we turned. And Open Collective allows us to take donations via a Patreon type model. And it allows people who want to donate to give us as much or as little as they want in a recurring monthly fashion if they would like to. But most importantly for us, it's a very low overhead to manage. They handle all the taxes and everything else. So yeah, it just means the project is going to be a lot more sustainable moving forward.
Why Open Collective? And I'm asking in like the sort of, will other open source infrastructure projects maybe choose something like this? What was it about Open Collective versus Patreon or setting up your own white label subscriber payment system?
They are open source themselves, so if you see something as part of their platform that you don't like, you can improve it.
Ah, very good. Well, we will have a link in the show notes if you'd like to support Linux Server IO. Take a look at some of the stuff they've put together. It has made automating tasks here at Jupiter Broadcasting a breeze, but not only that, one of the more fun projects I've probably worked on in the last 6 months. It's been really enjoyable, and it's one of those things where like there's complicated topics that you need to learn. Maybe it's containers or whatever it might be. It's a great way. It's a great way to learn those things. It's
a nice, safe, easy to replicate environment.
Yeah. So
for those that don't know, we make and ship a bunch of community software packaged in Docker containers.
Yeah. Now, a couple of weeks ago, we announced that Anna Gross, well, we didn't announce it, but we covered the announcement. I'll start over since my microphone's also making a lot of... I gotta oil this thing. Listen to that. That's horrible.
PSA, oil your microphone stands, everyone.
Now, a month or so ago, we announced... Nope, damn it. Stop saying we. We didn't announce it. Why am I saying that? Why am I saying that? What's the matter with me? I want to say we covered.
Is that the royal we?
Yeah, right. But it's the wrong... Like, my brain has just gone into autopilot. It's well, we're half into the show, autopilot mode. A couple of months ago, we covered that Anna Gross was shutting down and that Endeavor OS was a community project that was launching to sort of fill that gap. I was kind of skeptical as a diehard Antegros user. I didn't want to see a project that I loved have something iterative taken and then sort of be not as good. However, I gave it a go this last weekend because they had their first release. I felt I got to give it a fair shot.
So what the role here is like a sort of minimal, nice, GUI pre-set up on top of Arch and a little bit more? Is that what we're aiming for?
But unlike Antergos, it's a slightly modified installer, and there's only one desktop, Wes. There's only one desktop. And it's an interesting choice.
That's wise.
It is, because it's Focus, right? I gave it a go. I was very surprised. I'll talk about that in a moment. However, I happen to know the editor for Choose Linux, and I happen to have some sway there. So I got a clip from Choose Linux, which will come out, I think, tomorrow. It depends on where you're, but it's very soon. It's chooselinux.show/ it's going to be, I think, episode 14. So chooselinux.show/14. But they're gonna do a full review.
Ooh.
And I got a little clip.
It wasn't long ago, I think it was maybe a month or so ago, Antergos announced that they were shutting down. And Antergos is the easy way to install Arch, essentially, with some value add as well, to be fair. And around the time of the announcement, shortly afterwards, a group of people said, hey, we want to continue it, and we're going to call it Endeavour OS. And I was skeptical, I must say, that it was going to actually happen. But about a week ago, they released their first stable release, so I thought we'd better check that out, especially as it's got XFCE. And I must say I was quite impressed with it. But Elle, you had some problems, right?
Okay, so I will just be straight honest and say I have never used Arch before. So I was going into trying this completely new, and I always say it's okay to be new. So I thought, why not just jump in? Don't do it in a VM, don't do it on a backup machine, just kick to it and use it.
You know what surprises me about that distro hopper segment, Cheesy?
What's that?
You don't have a guess? You got to give me a guess. No guess.
No guess. I don't guess anymore because every time I guess, it's on the Linux Millionaire, and I always on Millionaire, and I always lose. Give me the Eisenhower nickel questions.
Yeah, you know what? That happens one time, man. That happens one time. That's what happens. Now, I'll tell you what surprises me about that distro hopper segment is we came up with that as kind of a joke. I thought initially I might do it on YouTube, and then I would just do a screen cap with voiceover, and that's how I would do video again. And then we were kind of joking like, oh, well, what if you guys just hit like a random button and tried out distros? And I didn't, Joe, right? I mean, everybody loves Joe.
That's a fact, yeah.
Mm-hmm. But Joe's not a big change guy. He's not a big change guy. So when we said to Joe, hey, what about just hitting a random button and picking a distro and then having to review it, I didn't think that was going to work. Turns out it's been pretty great. So they have this distro hopper segment where not only are they randomly picking distros, that happens in the show, but they're also doing some intentional reviews, some deep dives. It's been really good. So Drew and Elle are on that show with Joe, chooselinux.show.
I like this distro hopper segment.
It's fun,
because
isn't it?
Yeah, but one of the things I used to love about Linux Luddites, which is the podcast that Joe created when he first made his foray into Linux podcasting about 5 years ago, one of their segments was, I think it was called Over a Pint, and they did the same sort of thing. They would pick a distro at random, and then the following episode, they would sort of give their first impressions. And I used to love that segment because at the time I was bootstrapping Ubuntu Mate, and I would get all of these little insights about what was good or bad about all of these other distributions. And it was really great research material that I didn't have to go off and research for myself. Well, so I'm glad to sort of see the return of that segment. I really enjoy it.
Well said. And the thing that I find super fun about it is you've got a bunch of different perspectives. So Elle comes from a very new to the desktop perspective. She comes from a server side trying the desktop for the first time. Drew comes at it from a very curious standpoint. He's really just curious about everything. And Joe comes at it from a well-seasoned. I've been running the desktop for a decade.
I like that.
Let me tell you how it really is kind of attitude. And the three of them combined to make a really solid analysis about a distro or a desktop, and they managed to pack it on to 30 minutes. It's been really cool. So anyways, I walked away from Endeavour OS. My short review, my quick little walk away thing would be they did something new. Early days, but it's not derivative. It truly felt like something new.
Interesting.
What have they done that's new exactly?
Well, it didn't. It's first of all, it's not just a straight ripoff of Antergos. It's a slightly modified installer. Some progress has been made on the installer, and then it's a fully custom single desktop where they've made some choices about the applications that are different than the choices the Antergos folks made. It's the desktop environment is based on XFCE. They've switched out VLC for, I'm blanking on it, but it's sort of an XFCE-focused GStreamer front end.
Parole.
I think that's it. Yeah, I think that's it. So they've made some swaps there, and it feels like a unique product. It doesn't feel like Antergos' next release. You know what I mean?
Yeah, okay, so it's not really the continuation of Antergos, then it is a different project with a different agenda.
That's my sense. They cover it more in Choose Linux, but there will be other desktop options and other install options that are in the works. But
so that's coming. Okay, that I was going to say, because that was kind of the thing with Antergos, right? I think Antergos had a different name to start with. It was was it Synarch originally, and it was just Cinnamon on Arch, and that was the only desktop option. And then it got renamed, and then they added all of the different desktop options to the installer.
History is repeating itself. It sort of is, but it does make sense. You do want to focus a bit initially. You want to limit your problem domain.
Get it right.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if it were me, I would advise you pick your desktop environment and you stick to that one desktop environment and you just execute really well on that one thing. As soon as you become a Linux Mint where you're looking at 2 different distribution bases and 4 different desktops, you're spreading yourself too thin, and you can be good at everything but not great at anything.
I do think my future, need a quick Arch install, just want to try something out on Arch, go-to distro will be Endeavor OS.
Is that right? Okay. Because that was probably the thing I used Integros the most for as well.
So why Endeavor and not Manjaro, given at the moment that Manjaro's default desktop environment is also XFCE, and they've been doing this a lot longer, so I'm guessing there's probably more refinement there.
I agree. I think if you wanted a full desktop that you were going to use long-term at this point, it would probably be Manjaro if you wanted something that was Arch-based and didn't want to use Arch.
Chris likes the shiny Martin. That's what it is.
No.
Oh, well, I know that. I'm just kind of being devil's advocate because we've got, a new distro on the block. There's some heritage or a reason for its being, which is, the discontinuation of Antergos. And then there's some real similarities with Manjaro, which is also an Arch derivative.
So what Antergos gave me that Manjaro doesn't really satisfy is damn near vanilla Arch. And I would say Endeavor OS is even slightly closer. I could be wrong. I didn't do a scientific calculation, but by the quick count that I did, 6 packages came from their own repo. And 2 of them were their GPG key package and things like that to make the repo possible. So it's very mild modifications from upstream Arch. It would take you 20 minutes at most to just make it an upstream Arch box. And that's what I'm looking for I'm looking for a shortcut to just get a full graphical desktop environment with a web browser and a media player and some codecs.
A bootstrap.
Yeah. On top of Arch. Because if I'm installing Arch these days, it's because I need Arch to do a task. I'm not necessarily installing it to use for 6 months to 5 years. And if I was, maybe I would consider Manjaro at this point. But for me, I'm sticking to Fedora and Ubuntu for the desktop. But that does seem like a good Arch candidate. And I think I'm going to check back in maybe every other release or so. It's looking pretty good. And I got to say, I love Pac-Man.
I know, right? It's always
not just Pac-Man, but the AUR, that sauce is really hard to get rid of once you've tasted it.
It's so good. It's so good. Thankfully, there's this project called Linux Server IO that makes software much more available on just about any distribution I choose. So I haven't had that problem for a while. All right. Well, let's move on now. We have a few things to get into. Number 1 is the housekeeping. Just a really quick one here. This is kind of a great study group that's kicking off. It's like the next generation of the study groups we've been doing for a while. Meetup.com/Jupiter Broadcasting for times, dates, and information. Highlights. It's passing the AWS Cloud Practitioner exam. This is a free online study group that we're getting more people at Linux Academy involved in to give essentially training away for free. I don't know how...
what's the downside here?
Just take advantage of it while they're letting us do this.
And learn some things. And
how long will they let us do this?
They can't take it away again, so you're set.
Once it's on the internet, it's out there. But if you want to ask questions or get information, meetup.com/Jupiter Broadcasting. Once you set Elle on a task, man, she is like...
Watch out.
I know. She's going to get it done. And she's just taking us to the whole next level. They're going to get even better. So meetup.com/Jupiter Broadcasting for that and more. Speaking of AWS, by the way... Elle has also released a whole bunch of more AWS content for free, as well as additional courses. We'll have a link to that in the show notes. That's something that she and I do now.
They should never have given her the key.
Really, just her.
That's all the best stuff.
I know. I'm like, Elle asked me, she's like, what do you think about this, this, and that? I'm like, well, Elle, just use your best and just do it, whatever you want. Like, and you're going to do it right. Just do it. And like it hasn't gone wrong yet. So check that out. We have links to all that stuff in the show notes, as well as a link to the Friday stream. May there only be a limited number of Friday streams left? Could there be a very special Friday stream where the entire crew is in studio? All of these questions and more will be answered.
I've got to know.
At FridayStream.com. The latest episode, FridayStream.com/10, Young and the Reckless, was our first stories about the ways we trashed our early vehicles. Really, that's what it came down to.
You know, I was on a trip when I was listening to the Friday stream live, of course, because that's the way to do it if you can.
Yeah.
I saw both of my first cars. The first one I wrecked, and then the second car I used after that. So it's a great episode.
Did you hear about that? Did you hear my transmission story?
Oh man,
woo! I know. Woo! I know. That was crazy. Anyways, the Friday stream is great. It may be a limited product. I don't know. Who knows? People don't know. If somebody may know, but who could that be? Who could that be? Check it out, FridayStream.com. And there's much more. We have links in the show notes for everything I've been yammering on about, including all of the news stories and everything else we're about to talk about at linuxunplugged.com/311. All right, Thomas, thank you for waiting through all that. Appreciate it.
Oh, of course.
So, Thomas, I guess you're not new to the Texas Linux Fest scene or that whole Linux scene at all, since you've been in the biz since about 1993, if I recall correct.
Correct. Yeah, I've presented at Texas Linux Fest numerous times over the years. My daughters have volunteered with TXLF, so yeah, I've spent a lot of time with and absolutely love the folks who organize Texas Linux Fest.
I think one of the things that really resonated about your talk is you and I have had a very similar timeline in IT. You started a bit before I did, because when I started, Turbo Linux was no longer a thing. It was on the decline. But when you started, you became Turbo Linux certified instructor number 001. I don't even know if many people listening have even heard of Turbo Linux before. So, congratulations.
It's really big in Japan. So,
all right, well,
and actually, this is one of the few times where I can say that with a perfectly straight face. Turbo Linux actually has done very well in APAC. So, but yeah, back in the day, Turbo Linux was one of numerous distros out there, and at the time, I owned a small IT consultancy, and we got engaged because I had written a whole bunch of Red Hat Linux training courses, and we got engaged by Turbo Linux to develop a Turbo Linux certification course.
Now, this next question is in the context of the overall direction of the jobs market. I'm curious, how did you go from 14 years at Red Hat to, which when I think of Red Hat, especially the time you were at Red Hat, I think very much of on-premises installations and things like that. How did you go from that career trajectory for 14 years into Amazon, which to me is, it seems like a pretty big pivot for somebody in your career trajectory. You seem like you're very much on-premises, building on-premises data centers, systems out, supporting those clients, running an independent contracting company. Then you go work for Red Hat. It sort of extends that career trajectory. Then all of a sudden you get to Amazon, and it seems like a bit of a 180 to me.
Well, I don't think it's a 180. I think that it's a pretty natural progression, honestly, because look at the evolution of cloud, right? For a long time, people were saying it's cloud when it was really just virtualized hosting, you know?
Yeah, you're on-premises setup, but up on somebody else's infrastructure.
Lift and shift, we'll do your mess for less kind of things. So, I spent a fair amount of time helping customers do things like that. But then as cloud native applications and application services started taking off, and as storage changed, and as, networking sort of evolved and became more complex in cloud computing environments, at their core, all of the services that you see most of the cloud providers out there offering are built on Linux. And so for me, it wasn't a 180. It was a fairly natural progression. It was realizing that, everybody seems to be taking a cloud first attitude or strategy. And a lot of these organizations, a lot of big enterprises are taking a containerized first in the cloud, and not even your mess for less, dump what we're doing out into the cloud, but let's really, really architect our applications to take advantage of cloud native services, which are all based on Linux. So that's what I decided to chase.
Makes sense to me. The thing you said in the keynote that, well, you really demonstrated it actually with job searches. But essentially the punchline is the Linux sysadmin could be going the way of the Unix sysadmin. Not that it's going to be obliterated completely, but it's going to become a niche. And when you do a job search in a popular area, you're down in the Austin area right now, you do a job search down there for a Linux admin, you get X amount of results. You do a search for cloud architect or cloud engineering, you get almost 4 or 5x, maybe even more results. What's at the core of that, though, is Linux, right? So it's not that we are left out of this transition. It's just about maybe adapting to the times.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that it's really, really natural, especially if you've been doing this for a long time, to go, well, I know Linux, I know the data center, I know, IP tables and networking and subnet masking and storage, and I want to do that in the data center. It's really easy to get caught up and scared of change. But when you look at the infrastructure that is running every cloud provider out there, it's all open source, it's all Linux, it's all things you're already used to. And so I don't think that folks should look at it as, oh my gosh, this is going to be hard. I think that folks should look at it as, wow, I've already got a head start on a lot of other folks because I understand the underlying technologies.
Yeah, that is, I think, a very good way to look at it. And it's the reality of the situation. You're well positioned. I want to just take a tangent for a moment and talk about something that we never talk about on the show, and that's Amazon Linux. Correct me where I'm wrong, but my understanding is that it is, at least initially, based on a version of RHEL, but that's about the extent of my understanding. Is that correct?
So we have a lot of commonality with, say, CentOS or Red Hat Enterprise Linux, but what we did when we were developing, especially Amazon Linux 2, which is the latest version that's out there, is we wanted to have a distro that was familiar and comfortable to enterprise users. So yes, it does share a common heritage with Red Hat Enterprise Linux. It's similar to CentOS, but we recompiled the GCC toolchain, put a newer version of glibc, newer version of the kernel, optimized and tuned it for virtualized environments. So while it is a similar environment and gives you a similar experience to other RPM-based distros, it is really purpose-built for cloud computing.
And so it's not necessarily pegged to a specific version of CentOS or RHEL? Okay.
Nope.
Kind of in this context, what are your thoughts on the universal base image that Red Hat's working on as part of RHEL 8?
So UBI, I saw a lot of the development that went on around UBI when I was still at Red Hat. UBI is interesting. It is designed for containerized environments. It is designed to be used as a container. It's not a full distro. So I don't know that you would
necessarily. Could run on top of Amazon Linux too, for example.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah. Red Hat's goal is to make it freely available, zero cost. They want everyone to adopt UBI for all of their containerized workloads. And I think that is a noble cause. I think that there are a lot of organizations which have done analysis of container runtimes and found that smaller is better. And UBI, being a universal base image, tries to be all things to all people. And so, in the environments where you've got to spin up thousands or tens of thousands of containers, you're probably going to want to look real hard at what the performance impact is for having a larger container. That is not a slam or a dig at all. There are some cases where UBI is absolutely going to make sense, but there are also going to be cases where it doesn't.
Yeah, I think that's a fair observation. And I'm everything you say, I consider your personal opinion, doesn't reflect Amazon or anything like that. So
right.
This is all just what Thomas thinks. And in that kind of vein, when I look at Amazon Linux 2. And how it's used at such a fantastic scale. And I take that out over the next 5 to 10 years, and I multiply that across Azure and Google Cloud. And I think not a single one of those is a Red Hat subscription. And I wonder if this plays a bit into IBM's acquisition, or perhaps why Red Hat may have been willing to sell to IBM. Again, your personal opinion, but do you think there is a sort of a market momentum that may have been on their minds during this acquisition?
Wow, that's a little difficult to answer because I was inside of the organization during the acquisition process. I will say that you can look anywhere in the industry. You can look at AWS, you can look at Azure, you can look at GCE, you can look at the smaller ones like Rackspace or I'm drawing a blank, but any one of any one of the organizations out there, they're all running a whole lot of unpaid Linux. They're making a whole lot of unpaid Linux available to their customers, and their customers are all saying, "Meh, it's good enough." If you look at the sort of paradigm shift that we're seeing, where folks are saying, I'm going to do things as cattle, not pets, or even not necessarily as cattle, but as containerization, so that if something breaks, if something didn't work, I throw it away, I spin a new one up. I don't care about the underlying operating system. I don't care about the technology in as much as like it has to be distro X or distro Y. So I think that the writing is on the wall for expensive big distributions. And I think that everybody recognizes that open source has become commoditized. Linux has become commoditized. And so, I think that very well may have been one of the driving forces. That stream, that well is going dry. Maybe it's time to cash out. I don't know.
Right. Great point. And is in your talk, you talk about the distro wars as if they're over. Is this kind of why? Is this new reality why when you talk about the distro wars in your keynote, you talk about them in a past tense and you talk about the damage they did, not that they're doing?
I think that there's still some of that mentality because you've always got the fanboys, right? And to be clear, I was a fanboy for a long time. I still fanboy a little bit. There are some distros that I really love. I love Fedora. But I think that, yes, when you had, in the early days, you had these distros that were doing fairly different things around the Linux kernel, and you couldn't install the same piece of software across two different distros without totally recompiling. That was bad. That was harmful. It was exactly the same thing that we saw during the Unix wars that, it wouldn't work on this sysv versus this BSD init style, or, HPUX had a different kernel and, you had to recompile stuff versus SunOS, all that craziness, different administration tools, different interfaces. I think that the distro wars were very harmful. I don't think we're seeing that as much today. I think we're seeing a lot more work towards interoperability between distros with things like Flatpak and so on. That I think it's fantastic. I think it's wonderful, man. Use the distro that you like, and still be able to access the software that you need to get your job done.
I mean, no doubt about it, right? I mean, looking back at since 1993 compared to today, it is so much easier to run the distro that you want to run.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you remember as well as I do, and I talked about it. I alluded to it in the keynote. Man, I remember fighting for literally about a week to get my first distro installed, and then I finally got it installed and it booted up, and there was a little flashing login cursor, and I was like, what do I do now?
Thomas, when you brought up Win modems, I actually felt physical pain.
Oh, gosh.
I felt physical pain. Oh God, it was so bad. It was so bad. It was so bad. Well, what do you? Any kind of advice or any kind of quote unquote mentorship that you would give to somebody who's looking to get into the Linux market today? What are some of the fundamentals that they probably need to start thinking about to be successful in the job market? Not to put you on the spot, but
no. That's actually a really good question, and I will say, what you heard me say before, install Linux on your primary machine, and it's going to be scary, and you're going to not know how to do stuff, and it's going to freak you out, and you're going to be missing, applications in the whatever your OS of choice is, Windows or Mac OS or whatever, and it's going to suck for the first couple of weeks. But if you immerse yourself, if you force yourself to really use it every single day, learn about how networking works. Learn about what subnetting is. Understand why you always have a 192.168 address when you're at home. Like, just that sort of basic blocking and tackling, getting it up and running, getting users installed, configuring services. If you do those things and you can speak intelligently about them when you go to interview, you're going to have a huge leg up over somebody who's just kind of the paper tiger that, I read a book or I ran through some online cheesy CBT that didn't really make me go through and perform tasks.
Right. Yeah.
Can I just add to that?
Absolutely.
Sure. So the first thing I was going to say is I listened to your question, and the first thing I thought was really learn networking. So I'm glad that you hit that point, because I think that's super important. And, people often think about, I know how to get around, the Linux file system and install packages and configure packages, but you really need to be an expert at the network level. And then if you want to be an attractive candidate to employers and you want to be working in the data center, then it doesn't matter which technology you choose to learn, but learn how to orchestrate Linux at scale. So it doesn't matter whether it's Puppet or Chef or Ansible or Juju or Maz or whatever. Learn one of those, understand why it's important, and understand how you scale Linux horizontally and vertically. And if you're able to nail that and networking, you've got a job for life.
I completely agree. Great tips. That is one of those things that even today I still appreciate having some network fundamentals. Wes and I were on a call on Monday discussing relays and international data transfer and the hops between, and it really, really helps to have a basic understanding.
We live in a distributed world, right? And it's all connected by networks.
Thomas?
For me, I've found an incredible value in learning things like Ansible, as Martin just said. But Docker as well was another life-changing technology for me. But having a project, a real-world problem that I can solve at home with these things that means I can go into an interview and speak authoritatively on a topic and say, yes, I've done X, Y, and Z on my home lab. Here's how I can add value to your business. And just being able to go in there and say those things with some authority is completely overlooked. When people are choosing one solution over another, whether it's a Synology NAS versus building your own thing, that never factors into the equation, and I absolutely think it should for people.
Yeah, you're dead right. And the number of times that I have messed around with a personal interest project at home where I've had to learn, let's say, how Ceph works, for example, or ZFS, and then have been able to use that knowledge and apply it in the workplace. I can't count the number of times I've done that. So, back to don't just run it on your desktop PC. Set up, it can be something as simple as a NUC with disks plugged in via USB 3. It doesn't need to be expensive or fancy, but create yourself a lab that you can bring up and solve problems on. It's better if they're problems that persist, you like your home media server or, something like that, and really experiment with things. Don't be afraid of experimenting with a new file system paradigm. It's something that Alex and I were talking about in the Telegram this week. Just experiment and use these things.
My daughter and I just bought 5 of the new Raspberry Pi 4Bs.
That's great.
And you stack those bad boys up into one of the little, stackable cases, and all of a sudden, for a couple $100, the cost of one NUC that's not even super built out, you've got multiple machines, so you can do things like Docker, or you can do things like Kubernetes. You can do lab type of stuff at home for a heck of a lot cheaper than back in the day when we were buying, old Optiplexes and stuff like that.
Yeah, and if you don't want to get into, it's not so exotic, but if you don't want to get into the exotic world of ARM, there's even boards like the Atomic Pi, which are x86 boards, and they're only like $60, and they're quite pokey, and you can do a lot with them. So there's plenty of ways to access sort of cheap hardware to build out your own modest lab environments to, experiment on.
Top tip from me, if you want to find a good compendium of different CPUs and motherboards and stuff like that, is serverbuild.net. There's some great information on that website. And I just built this week a PFSense router around $150 with an i5 3470 in it, 4 gigs of RAM and all that kind of stuff. So, it is incredible what you can build for that 150 kind of price point these days.
Mm-hmm. Those are the Raspberry Pi thing. That the reason why that's such a fun tip is it's way more entertaining, fun, and educational than setting up a bunch of VMs. VMs is a good skill to have too, but it's so cool to physically set up a couple of Pis and then connect into them and manipulate them.
I liked Wimpy's point too. Make something you're actually gonna rely on, because that's a key part to a lot of this stuff. Is you're gonna have to support it, and you're gonna have to figure out what happens when you upgrade and it goes wrong, right? And the family can't watch movies on your Plex server anymore.
It's motivating. Let me put it that way. Yes.
Yeah,
that's very real.
There's nothing like learning how to do RAID recovery if you pull a disk out of your home server, your Plex on a Saturday morning. Just do that and then learn how to recover that situation. That'll focus your attention.
Very true. Very, very true. Okay,
I'll throw one more thing out. When I'm hiring, when I'm looking at a candidate, I will always do a Google search on their name. And so I would say that if you are trying to break into the industry, get on mailing lists, get on, web boards, get on whatever is appropriate for what your interests are, and contribute. Even if you're not contributing code, just answer questions, or help folks, help new folks. You may not have the answer, but hey, did you consider blah, 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 blah. If I, as a hiring manager, see that and see that you're out there trying to do good and trying to help the community, that gives you massive brownie points in my eyes.
Yeah. As a hiring manager, I totally endorse that.
That might be one of the single best tips given out on the show, because that is something that we use when we are researching people that we're talking about on the show, and that's a way we measure a certain amount of impact too. And I can absolutely see how that would correlate to hiring. I think that is a really good tip. So, Thomas, I've got 2 last questions for you.
Sure.
Number one is a long timer. What are you doing today on your Linux desktop that just like if you told if you just went back in time 10 years and told yourself you could do this, it would blow your mind?
Oh, that's easy. Let's ignore containerization, because this is sort of, the next step. But the fact that I have a machine at my desk with 32 gigs of memory in it, and I can spin up virtual machines in, 10 minutes, or not even that, 2 minutes,
yes.
And set up complex networked environments, then run Kubernetes on top of it to do my container orchestration. The fact that I can do all of that on one machine, and that one machine, by the way, has 3 monitors attached to it. 10 years ago, that was science fiction.
You are making me smile so much right now. A man after my own heart, because I am geeking out so hardcore with PCI pass-through and virtualization right now. I can't believe the performance I'm getting. I'm sitting at a virtual machine with a keyboard, a mouse, and a screen, and it feels like I'm at bare metal hardware. It's just...
Oh, yeah.
Virtualization has come so far. It has
the future. It's now.
That is such a remarkable change. Great answer. Number 2, how would you feel about us doing a once-over on your keynote, like doing some audio filtering and things like that, and releasing it somewhere for people to be able to listen to? I don't know if it's ever been public, but I'm just thinking after our talk, that keynote would be some really good context for this conversation. I'd love to post it somewhere. How do you feel about that?
I would be honored. That would be fantastic. Thank you so much.
I will figure that out. I don't know exactly how we'll do that, but we'll do a follow-up at some point, and then I'll let you know whatever we figure out. Because I just came up with that on the spot, but I think it'd be really good because it was such a great keynote, and you made some great points about diversity and different types of diversity, including neurological diversity, that really resonated with me, and that's in the keynote as well. We did talk about that in episode 304. So if you do want some additional context before we get that whole thing posted, go check out linuxunplugged.com/304, where we have all of that. Thomas, we'll have links to your profile and whatnot in our show notes. Is there anywhere else you want to send people?
AWS.Amazon.com. Got to throw that out there.
Attaboy. Good man. You gotta do it. Yeah, it's
If
great.
you've never heard of AWS,
and make sure you. Well,
There's this little company that's doing something to this cloud thing. I don't know if it's ever going to be big, but
I don't know. I don't know that a book company is ever going to succeed at that.
Right.
Oh, yeah. Let me tell you, the Seattle area could tell you differently. We have some glass balls downtown that say otherwise. Really big glass balls downtown. That Jeff Bezos.
Man, the first time I saw those, because I flew up for some of my new hire. The first time I saw that was like, wow.
It looks like something from Star Trek. I bet you there will be a sci-fi episode at some point that films outside those things. They're super cool. And if you search the internet right now, you'll find Jeff Bezos thanking the crew for Amazon Prime Day up on the glass balls. It's a pretty great picture. So yeah, but that's not in the show notes. That's something for you to do at home. But
Bezos balls.
We do have in the show notes is a link to Croc, which is looking to supplant my beloved Wormhole. Did you find this?
Yeah. Well, someone found it anyway, and Drew tried it out with me. He was good enough. He agreed. It's like Magic Wormhole's great. I think Croc has a slight edge. It's encrypted. It lets you send multiple files, and it's resumable.
Now that
okay, hang on,
nice.
Rewind. What's this thing called? Because I love wormholes. If there's something better out there, I need to know about this.
Right? It's called Croc, C-R-O-C. It's on GitHub. We'll have a link in the show notes. And it's all the things we love about Wormhole. It can do a proxied connection. I'm going to repeat because I popped. It's all the things we love about Wormhole. It will do a proxied connection, which you can self-host, or that project offers one. It brings in multiple files and resuming, though, which Magic Wormhole currently does not. Really quick recap for those of you that don't know. These are tools that make it crazy simple to transfer all kinds of large or small files between machines anywhere in the world. They will traverse NAT. They will manage your port forwarding, aka they don't require it. It's a really, really handy way to, say, exchange large working files between groups and not have to rely on like a cloud service, because once the transfer is set up, you're sending directly between machines. And the thing that Croc's bringing to the party is Windows and Mac support, which is nice, encryption, multiple files, and resuming.
Yeah, and it's just a Go binary too, so you can just download the tar file. And,
quit it.
Super easy to package up or run wherever you want.
I really love Magic Wormhole, so this does hurt. Because one of the cool things that it does, and I have not tried Croc, but one of the things Magic Wormhole does is you say Wormhole send, and then you give it the file name, and then it generates a human-readable code that's in
exactly
3 segments. Oh, it is?
Yep.
That's really nice.
It lists Magic Wormhole, in fairness here, as one of the inspirations
Okay.
for the project. So there's a lot, there's a lot of tools here. And I don't know that it's really necessarily better than what you're doing, unless you need one of the features.
Resuming's
Resume
nice,
is
because we're
I
moving like 30 gigs.
I will certainly take a look at this.
Yeah.
What I would say is Wormhole can transfer multiple files as well. You just point Wormhole at a directory, and then everything in that directory gets transferred.
Oh, nice.
Fair enough. Yes, that is true. Oh, look at this. They have a container ready for it to go. Of
I
course.
also like that the relay is easy to run. Like, you don't have to run anything separately. It's another flag to the binary that you have.
So we could
That
put
is
that
good.
relay on our own system.
Very easily. And there's a container for it, yeah.
Yeah. Dang it. This is happening, isn't it? I can already feel this has happened. Like you and Drew have decided now it's just time for old man Chris to get on board. Dang it. That's cool. I love Magic Wormhole. I'll still use it with Wimpy.
Yeah, we're not going to uninstall it.
No, what's nice about Magic Wormhole is it's in most repositories. You just didn't know about it.
That's nice, yes.
I love those kinds of apps. They've been in the repo the entire time.
And it's in pip too, so if you already have Python, you're good to go.
Yeah, of course. All right, well, we'll have links to that and more in the show notes, linuxunplugged.com. Why don't you join us live next week? Did you know we do this on a Tuesday?
Oh, it's way more fun live.
It is. There's like more show.
Extra show.
Yeah. We have a pre and post show in the recording, but that's not...
No, that's just a little teaser.
Spoiler alert, that's not the whole thing. It's not the whole thing. We never really said that, but it's true.
There's only one way to really find out, though.
jblive.tv. We have it converted to your local time at jupiterbroadcasting.com/calendar, as well as many other fine shows posted over there. Go check out the links to the guests and as well as the hosts at linuxunplugged.com. Thanks so much for joining us. I'll see you back here next Tuesday.
baby.
Oh, Mr. Dominic.
I love Mike. All right.
You know, if anyone did have brain-making powers, it probably would be.
It would be the man from Florida
yeah.
Man.
Mhm.
We have our very own Florida Man. I probably shouldn't. You probably wouldn't like that.
Yeah, no.
Maybe you would. Maybe you embrace it. I think they kind of embrace it down there now. I think that's kind of a thing. Thomas, thank you so much for coming on the show, man.
Absolutely my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
It was a lot of fun.
Thank you for doing the recording too. So before you stop recording or before you go, we just have one duty left, and that is we must select a title for this episode. It is the hardest aspect of the show. So if you go over to jbtitles.com.
That's why we make you help us.
Yeah. If you go to jbtitles.com, we have a vote. Oh, and then we've only gotten 7 suggestions. Chat room.
And several of them are from me.
Oh, my goodness. So we have only a few choices to pick from.
Yeah, go help us out.
I don't think I like any of these, so we may have to come up with our own. These, I expect more.
Unplugged, dude, come on.
What?
32 hours of outrage.
That is good. That is good. I got to admit, that is really funny.
Yeah, that is pretty good. That's
I actually would click that too.
It's natural. You can't resist.
Yeah, you can't. It's instinct. Can we come up with anything else? Wimpy, you haven't been here for a while. I feel like it'd be perfect for you to just have a creative title idea.
And Brent, where's
just
your
did,
game
man.
today?
I've just done it.
What
I've
was
got
it?
one in there, but
Yeah, Brent, we see it. I mean, it's not like we don't see it, Brent.
I know. Hey, I never said it was good.
Podcasting in my pants, Wimpy. I don't think that's gonna be it. I mean,
the exclamation point really makes it. I think.
Yeah, I do appreciate the visual, but imagine like all of the audience that has to have that visual, Wimpy. That's just not something we want to do to them.
Well, I think you've missed on your market research there.
Since I don't know if we recorded that, did we? I don't think we were recording that.
No, let's hit stop. All right, everybody ready to hit stop? Y'all ready to hit stop? Y'all ready? Everybody,
Sure.
3, 2, 1, stop. There we go. That's a show right there.
Good job, team.
And then what's the best way for Thomas to get that to us?
Probably Croc, I would say.
Oh my gosh, that's funny.
Nextcloud drop.
That's funny. Yeah. Oh yeah. Cheese, do you know how to do a Nextcloud drop for that?
Yeah.
All right. Well, you want to do that on base and then just send them a thingy for that and then.
Absolutely.
Hey, what format do you want it?
Exporting FLAC if you can.
FLAC mono is the ideal, and then the defaults are all fine for like the
File exports, FLAC, all the defaults.
Yeah.
32 kilobit per second MP3, please.
No.
Okay, FLAC.
You man.
You want to do this so I don't mess it up?
You see
Thank
it?
you.
If you go to file and then all the way down to export audio.
Or Command Shift E on the Macintosh. We'll bring it up.
Yeah, I hate Command Shift anything. I am hating this Mac so fucking much, guys. I
understand.
Okay, get yourself a PC and install Windows on it, and you'll start loving that Mac a whole lot more. I can guarantee.
That's very true. My two options were an HP laptop with Windows or a MacBook with Mac OS.
Yeah.
And I was
That-
like,
then
at
you
least I can
chose
get to
wisely.
a shell. Yeah, I can at least I can get to a terminal.
Yep.
You know,
I would have made the same
It's a
choice.
shame that the first thing that I do is install iTerm to get rid of Apple.
iTerm's not bad, yeah. And Brew.
This was the
Brew
work
helps.
iTerm and Brew make a Mac usable.
Right.
This was the work laptop they issued you to work on Amazon Linux.
yeah, I know.
So
I know, man. Believe me.
I've never had a Mac before, ever.
Right.
And
You got one recently. It sounded like
early.
Yeah, I did. I got one about 2 weeks ago, and decided to it was bought secondhand on eBay, so I wasn't comfortable with just using it with whatever was installed on it from the previous seller. So did a complete, reinstall and figured out how to do all of that, which was super easy. And I set that up. Like you say, I installed iTerm. I knew enough from watching other people use Macs that that's what I needed, and I knew about Brew. And with Brew and iTerm,
What is Brew?
It's like
it's like
for Mac.
apt for Mac.
And
yeah.
Croc is in there too. So
Yeah, it's great though. It does. Thomas, serious tip. It's if you like any kind of random package that might be in the Debian repository is very likely in the Brew cask or whatever they call it.
It really is. Everything is in there.
I use it to install stuff like Terraform and Ansible and like anything.
Yeah.
anything.
Like really,
Linux now, too,
I was able to install dir-env, which is a Nix project which I use on Ubuntu, and also Yadim, which is my dot file manager.
Oh, really? That's
And with those,
Jeez.
yeah, and with those installed and Git, I checked out my dot files that I use on my Linux system, and it all just worked on the Mac. Like I had everything set up. All my SSH keys worked. All my moving.
You know, that's a legit segment. If you want to do that segment on this show, I would happily do it with you. That's a legit segment.
Well, that's a dangerous segment to do, right? Because I've had to limit how much time I spend on the Mac because it's awful tempting. Because, you know, I've got a shell environment which is comfortable and feels like home. And I've got easy access to all of the other applications I need on the desktop. You know, everything that I need on the desktop that I'm familiar with using is available. And within a couple of hours, I had complete parity with what I have on an Ubuntu desktop. So I can totally understand.
Isn't that the concern around WSL too?
No, no, because at the same time, I was also installing Windows 10 on an XPS 15. And this was so I could get
You're right. Compared to macOS, it's horrible.
Right. Yeah. But this was so I could get WSL enabled, WSL2 enabled with the Insiders version, and also enable the Hyper-V gallery because Ubuntu is also available in there. You know, and I wanted to get familiar with all of this, you know, stuff that we publish on, you know, not Linux platforms. And apart from it taking a day and a half to install and update Windows, and that isn't an exaggeration, that is how much of my that is actually how much time it takes. And this wasn't like an ISO image with nothing in it. This was a recovery image from Dell, so it was already preloaded with the necessary drivers, right?
So bad.
So there was that, and then once I'd got that far, then of course enabling the Insiders thing, and you get more updates and all the rest of it. So it took a long time to get to a point where I could start doing things. And then, you know, that WSL thing, it's a bit like, it feels like running a VM, because it's this alien other thing outside of, you know, the Windows view of things.
Whereas Brew's installing it on the actual file system.
Whereas you just open a terminal on Mac, you've got Bash, or, you know, in my case, I installed Fish, and now I'm using the Fish shell. Right, and it's just all very, very familiar and comfortable.
Thankfully, they don't make compelling hardware anymore, at least at a price point that I can stomach.
No, I bought what I think people recognize as the last good MacBook Pro, which was a mid 2015 model.
Oh yeah, that does seem like a good one.
Fine machine.
I've been rocking mine ever since then, and until they put a new keyboard in, the Mac's just dead to me.
Yeah, the keyboard's horrible. I work on the latest gen, and I don't like it at all. I really don't.
I hate the noise it makes. I hate how it feels. I hate that it's not reliable.
Slowly losing my delete key is slowly losing key presses too.
Oh no, it's new, dude. It's not even a half a year old.
Hey, it's Apple.
So did you get a link over to Thomas?
Yeah, I sent you an email that has a link. It should be able to drop into our Nextcloud instance.
I'm kind of going with 32 hours of outrage.
Yeah.
32 hours of outrage did make me laugh.
Solid.
Yeah. This is Nextcloud has been our Dropbox when we need cloud, because this kind of thing does sort of call for like some sort of hosted, obviously for this type of use case. So we're moving from Dropbox to Nextcloud. So
here's the thing.
Nextcloud.
What happened? Who is the Dropbox customer that made enough of a noise that is spending enough money with Dropbox to get that decision reversed?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Or have they just seen enough people leaving?
No, it wasn't the fraction of a rounding error that is the Linux desktop user community, right? It was somebody with a big check that they're paying to Dropbox on a regular basis. So who the heck was that?
That's a great question.
Yeah, it really is.
That's the question behind the story right there. I do wonder. And Dropbox would never say, obviously.
Why would Jay?
You know, I do note that Stratus uses XFS, and I also note that I've noticed two different clouds providers now have Amazon and DigitalOcean. I've seen use XFS, so I don't know. I mean, it's really hard to say.
Maybe DO Spaces is backed by Dropbox. No, I'm just kidding.
I don't know.
Yeah, you just get the enterprise account, it's fine.
That's a great question. I don't think we'll never get an answer to that. That's never.
We will never know. We will never know. But you know, they didn't just decide to do this out of the goodness of their heart.
You do wonder if they'll ever ship their crazy ass Electron file manager to Linux. It may be that Linux is the desktop that has the old school Dropbox Classic, and I may be overreacting and moving ahead of time, but I just felt like with the recent stuff like this, it was just too much, and we have capacity here on premises, so
it's working all right. We're figuring it out.
Yeah, the one thing is networking is tricky. When you self-host, networking is tricky, and we may have to come up with some solutions for our friends that are around the world. That could be a thing.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a problem for Joe.
So self-hosting, what is tricky?
Nextcloud on a Comcast business connections.
Oh, I see what you mean. Okay, right.
Yeah, I mean we get like here in Seattle, you'll get like 80 megabits from it, which that's doable. But if you're say in London, you might get what was he getting?
Oh, he was getting kilobits. Yeah,
kilobits. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. I think you said he.
Maybe you know someone at Amazon, Chris, who could help.
Yeah, if
they're not using Amazon anymore. They created their own infrastructure, didn't they?
Yeah, we have talked about. I know that Nextcloud supports different like back-end storage systems, so we're going to look into some of that and see.
Yeah, I have a test thing.
Yeah. Oh, do you?
Mm-hmm.
Chris, would Federation solve that in some way?
Well, so Federation doesn't actually mirror the data so much as make the data available through a Nextcloud instance that you're already connected to. So it's sort of it's a crude term to use, but it's sort of a proxy to the data. It doesn't actually move the data across instances.
Right.
So we're looking at ways, and the Nextcloud project themselves have not yet decided to tackle sync because they feel like it's a monster.
It does sound like it could get messy.
Something that I experimented with in the past was creating a Nextcloud instance, creating a folder underneath that.
With sync thing?
And then using sync thing as the transport to get the data around the place.
How did that work?
Well, back then it actually worked quite well, but then again, the sync capabilities within Nextcloud itself were, well, frankly, appalling, several years ago. They're better now, and for my personal requirements, it's probably good enough. I mean, we're thinking about using it for the Ubuntu podcast, so we're thinking about what options are open to us. But that's not particularly high usage because there's just 3 of us.
Yeah, I mean that's you go on a droplet sudo snap install Nextcloud. What is it? -- classic. I don't know what it is, but you in 45 seconds you've got Nextcloud up and running.
Yeah,
and for a small team, that's just going to work.
Right,
probably.
and that's going to be good. That's going to be good enough, definitely. Yeah.
I mean, I've been running off my snap install instance now for about 6 months with 0 problems. I did change to the release 16 instead of, I think the default's 15 with the snap, but other than that, man, it's been running great. No problem.
That's nice. How Thomas, were you able to get the file over to the Nextcloud?
So it still says that it's uploading. It's got a little spinning circle.
So there we go. There we go.
FLAC file is like 260 megs, I think.
Yeah, that's part of the problem. It's on a Comcast connection, so it might take a minute, but that's all right.
Yeah, I mean, if it's quicker for you to just put it in, say, the lovely Dropbox or something like that,
it'll get there.
I can get it that way.
Oh, if I'm going to put it anywhere, I'm going to put it in an S3 bucket and give you the URL.
That's
for
great.
It, but,
that'd probably be very fast. So that's what we should be doing.
I've also got a filthy tip for you if you want to move some files around effortlessly.
Yeah.
We've used Telegram to move audio files for the podcast around before now.
Oh, sure, yeah. Telegram is pretty good.
Self all the time.
Yeah, it is. You're right. Yeah. Yeah.
Else you can put it on an SD card and put it on snail mail. Maybe faster.
Joe still complains about how fast Telegram isn't, though.
Not all guests use Telegram, though.
That sentence was too long. Joe just complains.
Hey, I got a question. We heard. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
We heard Elle's voice earlier, but she's not actually on the call, is she?
Not today. I think she had a family thing come up, but normally she'd be joining us.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah. I was kind of surprised that I didn't hear her.
Yeah, I think she was.
Hi,
she was in chat for a bit, but she couldn't.
Okay.
I don't think she couldn't join us via audio.
I think she had a kid.
Yeah,
sick kid.
A family thing. Which happens, that definitely happens.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, Thomas, thank you for making the time. And
tons of fun.
We do this show every Tuesday. You are always welcome to join us, or if something comes up that you want to chat about, like something on your mind or a news item, feel free to ping us.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
You're welcome to join us again.
That sounds fantastic, guys. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. This was a whole lot of fun.
Yeah,
So.
we really enjoyed it. So thank you very much. And if that upload takes too long, I guess just ping old cheese there, and you guys could telegram it or whatever
works for you.
I'm sure it'll go. It's probably like we have a decent downlink here, but it's probably just peered weird. So.
Yeah, well, if it's on Comcast, your upload speed might be a little low. Which,
yeah, it is.
That's
it's not. It's not great. It's like you get a bunch of download, and then you get kind of crap.
Exactly. Yeah. So, all right, I'll watch it for a little while. If it if it doesn't upload in the next few minutes, then like I said, I'll stick it in an S3 bucket, and I'll give you guys the URL.
All right, thanks, sir. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
All right,
Bye-bye.
Hope we chat again.
Yep.
Goodbye.
Right. So I think we're going to go with 32 Hours of Outrage.
32 Hours of Outrage.
Yeah, you kind of caught me there off guard when you threw to me about Endeavor. I was trying to add in some stuff.
I know.
Housekeeping. Sorry. I was trying to add that,
That's all right.
We got more closed captions.
It's fine. We could actually
Academy stuff.
You could note in there to cut that if you can there, Wes. It's fine. It may be cuttable.
What are we cutting? Jesus. Throwing
my
cheese.
toss, and then if it's not cuttable, it's fine. It still works. I think we're done though. I think that's it, right? All our business.
Can I do anything here with my gigabit WAN to help speed this stuff up?
Maybe. I mean, we've been thinking really the thing to do is put it like on a New York droplet. But
get it closer.
We can do some testing through my house if you want. But
I wonder what would the key to that would be do some transfer testing with old Joe and Drew there, and and then me and Wes, I suppose, because like I don't want it to be slow for us in the studio, but because the most common use case would be the editors pulling and uploading assets, we need to test that.
Yeah. Well, Drew's just around the corner, isn't he? And
yeah, I imagine
I'm sort of in the middle of everybody here, aren't I?
I imagine Drew would probably be pretty good. So then it's really just a question of your international peering. So that's why it'd be good to test with Joe. See what you
Sure.
get.
Happy to try whatever you want.
You should just set some. Do you have a way for him to download something? If you do, just link it to him and see what he gets transfer rate wise.
Yeah, of course I do. I'll talk to him later.
Okay. Very good. All right, Alex, you going to join us on Friday?
Maybe. Definitely. Yes.
Nice.
Steady progression.
That was a Boris Johnson answer, if ever there was, eh?
Very nice.
Oh no! What a miserable fucking day! Don't. It's too soon.
I know.
Let's not go there.
Sorry. I didn't bring it up. It wasn't me.
No, Alex should have known better. Red card, Alex.
Hey, I immigrated to get away from that shite. So.
Well, actually,
welcome to Jeez, really?
I was just reflecting on how much I like Canada today.
Thank you.
Yeah, no kidding, right? Also, Brent, Alan Jude would.
I'm a responsible adult.
Alan Jude would agree with Brent. Come to
Well,
Canada.
we stick closer up here.
Brent, are you seeing anyone?
I'm coming. Let's all move in. Could you fit a studio, Brent? Just be for like 6 months. It'd be fine.
Yeah, Brent's house is empty like 95% of the year anyway.
That's a good point. We could help water the plants.
Nice. Just feed the cats. Everything will be fine.
Yeah.
But your reputation with feeding your own fish, I don't know.
What?
He does maintain the life of a dog.
And that there are those fish
true.
are alive.
Priorities.
They are alive.
That's true.
And children.
Thanks to Wes.
I don't know if I would describe them as thriving, but
Who can say that's a judgment call?
I mean, it was a faulty product, Brent. It was a faulty product. What can I say? It was a faulty
Right.
product.
My studio is your studio any day.
I wonder if that has the acoustic properties I require, Brent.
We can make them.
Send him your requirements sheet.
Alex, what I really should do, if I had all the time in the world and you had all the time in the world, is the week before our sprint, I should come visit you and help you set up your studio and go over your setup there, and then we fly here together to Seattle. I don't think it's going to happen, but I was just thinking about reflecting on how that would be a good way to do it. Now that
I mean, if you can get on a plane, it can happen.
You hear me breathing?
Does Alex need escorting?
Do you hear me breathing?
You see what he did there, Chris? You see what he did
Do
there?
it. I'll give you a tour of the tower whilst you're here.
Oh, that was if
that would be cool. You could get your own red fedora, dude.
That was an Alexism, wasn't it? He just did an Alexism. He did. I didn't catch it. You're right. He did, Cheese. He gave me an Alexism right there.
Yeah,
what was that?
It back to you, man.
Well, if you can think about it, you can do it. You just have to know how.
Fuck off.
You just have to know how. You could come here. You just have to get on a plane. Yeah, that's it. That's what the problem is. I just have to get on the plane. Also, all the other things that have to change.
It's only a 6-hour flight. Come on.
Jesus.
Think about how often you waste 6 hours.
It's direct. It's a direct flight. You've got no excuse. And I'll pick you up from the airport at this end.
What I need, your own red hat.
What we need is disposable vehicles. If I could get in a car and drive there and then fly back, that I might do. But I'm not spending 12 hours on a plane. That shit is crazy. That's crazy.
You can do a lot of
Well,
reading
speak to
in 12
Wes.
hours.
You can get Wi-Fi on that plane.
Yeah, slow Wi-Fi.
True.
Tunneled over DNS.
You know what they say about beggars.
All right. I think we're all done here. I think that's it. Cheesy, will you follow up with Thomas if things will you just check in on things a little bit? All right, thank you, sir. Appreciate that.
Absolutely. I'll let you know how that goes, and as soon as that file gets there, if it does finish up there, I'll just link that over, pull it down, and put it in the other repository.
Wimpy, it was great to see you.
Amazing.
Yes, it was nice to be back. Been travelling, holidays. You've had 2 pre-records, so it's been a while. But yeah, nice to have a chat again.
Show's been the Ubuntu podcast has been great as always.
Hey Wimpy, I did want to ask, have you done any work with the new Pinebook Pro yet?
I don't have an engineering sample yet, but one is on the way.
Ooh, exclusive.
Awesome.
That's
Looking
awesome.
forward to it.
Well, you are welcome to come on here and chat as much as that as you'd like. And sure, you want to keep some of it.
I could probably hook you up with the Pinebook community manager as well, who is excellent. He's
Lucas.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a great guy. Great.
Do you already
So
know?
if
You already
you're-
have a connection? Okay, good, great.
Okay, you should totally get him on. He is great.
Really? Okay.
Oh yeah,
I've already talked to him about coming on.
Jeez,
but
hook it up. Jeez.
Well, he's
good man.
their little pre-order things coming up here, and
They want to
less
time it? They
than
want to time it
a day
pre-order?
or something like that. But well, I mean, he's just so overwhelmed. I've been talking with him, and he's just
Busy bee.
everything's coming to a head right now. He's like, as soon as I get some breathing room, I'd love to come on.
So, Chris, have you seen what happened to my iPhone?
No, what happened?
Oh, I'll have to post it in the Telegram group.
Did it
but
explode on you? Did it explode?
No, close, but it's doing that bendy thing.
Oh, really? What iPhone is it? Which model?
It's the 7, I think. Last
Oh,
time I
come on,
checked.
man. It's time to upgrade. What the heck?
Well, I was waiting for the Pine phone.
You're making
It's the perfect,
Oh, you're giving me anxiety now. Come on.
perfect thing.
I've got to drop, guys. Have a good week.
All right,
Bye,
Alex.
Alex.
Thanks for
See you,
making
Alex.
it.
Bye bye.
I'm gonna go here too. See you guys.
All right, Brent. Thank
Always
you for
a
making
pleasure.
it. Good to chat. Talk
See you real soon.
See you
Friday.
soon. Friday. All right.
Is Brent coming to the sprint?
Yeah, put a picture in there, too. Yeah, he is. For a bit, at least. I got myself a can of oxygen.
You never know when it's going to be.
Mystery.
I'll keep an eye out for him. He's back. Oh, there he is.
Why were we
I thought he was
recording
gone.
So good.
Watch what you say after I say goodbye. All right, now I'm leaving.
Yeah, sure. Whatever.
For real this time.
Yeah, I heard that before.
Click.
All right, give it 30 seconds.
He's still there. There he goes.
So
All
I
right.
wonder if Brent's going to take some photos at the sprint.
I think so. Yeah, I think he will. Yeah. You guys can be the... you guys can be
I'll
the
just
photo
hold this
team.
reflector. I'll just
No,
hold the
stop
reflector.
it. All right. Okay. Well, Mumble Room, thank you guys, everybody in there. It was good to see you. Even those of you who didn't bite, it was good to see you. Bruce, good to see you. Code, Mr. Mech, and Turth, thank you. Or Thirth, as some people say. Thank you for making it. And Wimpy, of course. Appreciate you guys.
Yeah, and I came crashing in halfway.
It was good. It's always
Nice
nice
to see ya.
It's nice to see you. Even if something doesn't come up that you jump in on, it's still nice to see you.
Yeah, I jumped in my car and put on the stream, and
Love
I
it.
just came racing down the highway to boot up my computer.
That's the best part. Like if
I've
I'm
done that a
late to the
time or
show,
two.
I love doing that.
That is awesome.
I used
Yeah,
to
I was on
whenever
a date with a girl.
What?
Oh.
Really? Really?
Oh, how'd that go?
Yeah,
wow.
Sorry,
I've got to leave. My podcast is about to be live. You're lovely, though.
I want to believe that's true.
No. The reason I'm late is because the date took longer than expected.
That's okay, man.
It's all right.
That's perfectly okay.
Yeah.
That is a pretty good excuse, I gotta say. That is.
I mean, unless the date was horrible.
I don't think so. It went late, right?
No. It was quite a nice date.
Good. All right. Well, thank you guys for making. Hope to see you next week, as always.
Bye for now. See you next time.
All right. Bye now. See you guys.
Bye.
All right. Chat room just leaves us now. I just don't know what to say. I guess.
Fuck off.
No, not that. Whoa. No, I know. I can't believe he said that.
So rude.
I know.
I don't like this confrontation.
Shh, calm down. Calm down.
Wes was right.
This is how we communicate.
Yikes. There's a lot going on with that.
Didn't you put some new ones in there too, Wes?
Huh? Did you get some new ones in there?
I thought Wes had put some new stuff, or maybe that was just music in the board.
What do we? Is there something I don't know about?
No, I don't know what Jesus is talking about.
It seems like there's a little thing while I was out that you guys aren't admitting to.
No, oh man, now I wish there was though.
I know that would.
Jeez, let's scheme later.
Yeah, I know now.
Yeah,
now we got to change all the.
No, you don't. No,
just
you
keep
don't.
the same file name.
Nope. We don't need to do that. All right, chat room. Guess what? We're getting out of here now. But you guess. I think you get a BST now tomorrow. I mean, you get one, but I don't know if you get a live one. You get what you get.
Yeah, it's pre-recorded this week.
Okay, all right.
But there's going to be a new one in your feed, so just look at your podcast catcher.
But a new Friday stream coming up.
Oh yeah, new Friday stream with another Linux Academy special guest too.
What? All right.
Yeah.
Crazy stuff. See you, everybody.